is being recorded and may be accessed by WebEx. The meeting link is on the calendar at burlington.org. If any board members are remote, and there is one, Mrs. Bond is remote tonight. She's saving us all from her cold germs. All votes will be made by roll call. If connectivity is lost and we have a quorum in person, the meeting will continue. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing I want to do is introduce our new school committee member, the student representative, and pronounce your name for me again.
Rashita
Rashita, and your last name?
Ravi.
Ravi. And we want to welcome Rashita. She's going to have a lot of input, and we'll have a great time with us because we're all a little bit crazy up here. So welcome to our meetings, and feel free to bring up whatever you want, okay? Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the warrant. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the warrant. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Mrs. Bond? Aye. Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Nevoychik?
Yes.
Ms. Masato?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and that's unanimous. Okay, the next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from 8/20/24. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any question or comment on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? I'm going to go to first names. Catherine? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's unanimous. Public participation. This segment for public participation is on items that are not on our agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And the first one is Mr. Doobie. I promised you that you could address the committee, and so I want to have you come on up first.
You doing? Yep, so push to talk.
Nope, you're all set.
Okay.
You don't have to get too close to it.
All right, thanks. Everybody can hear me okay? All right, so my name's Ed Doobie. I live at 3 Locust Street. I am a teacher in Lexington and obviously a resident here in Burlington. The reason I came here tonight is to talk about question 2, replacing the MCAS graduation requirement. And to be clear, it's not getting rid of MCAS, okay? It's replacing the graduation requirement. We're bringing it back to the districts. And the state has standards, okay? The MCAS is, so students currently have to pass math, MCAS, English, and science in order to get the diploma. If they don't pass, they can attempt to retake it. Ultimately, if they don't pass, they have to go get a GED, okay? And my argument on this is that the MCAS is inherently unfair. You know, we can maintain the high standards without the graduation requirement. We're one of 7 states that still has a graduation requirement tied to a test now, or a test as a graduation requirement. And basically what happens is, I've been canvassing all summer on this, okay, knocking on doors, talking to people about voting yes on 2. And it seems to be resonating across party lines, okay, regardless of what party people are in, okay, they think that we could do without the MCAS graduation requirement. And so what I'd like to do is ask this school committee to come out with a municipal resolution, or basically an endorsement of supporting question 2 and replacing the MCAS requirement. I grew up in Chelsea. I teach in Lexington now. I can tell you why, without a test, okay, kids in Lexington tend to do better on the MCAS, okay, than kids in Chelsea. And so we want to maintain high standards in Burlington. We want to keep moving forward. We want to maintain high standards across the state. I think we can do it without a graduation requirement, without MCAS being a graduation requirement. So I'm not going to sit here and make this emotional plea or excoriate the school committee or anything like that. I would just ask you to consider. I sent an email on Friday asking for an endorsement. I'd just like you to consider, okay, in coming out on the yes side of question 2 and endorsing that. And that's all I have to say.
So I know Dr. Conti doesn't want to be part of this discussion. He's an administrator, you know?
If he wants to, he can. If he doesn't want to, it's okay.
Sure, I'm still on the clock, so it's
All good.
you all to decide.
It's all good.
All right, so my question to the committee is this. I don't know how individuals feel about this, but this is like an initial request. How would you feel about having an agenda item at the next committee meeting to either endorse or not endorse, as Mr. Doobie has requested?
I'm fine with that.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I can support an agenda item.
Okay. You too? I hear you, Catherine. Okay. Well, it sounds like we will have an agenda item on the next meeting as to, we'll take a vote on whether or not to take a stand of public endorsement. And if you want to send me the language that you want us to use, I'll be happy to use it.
I can do that, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
Chairwoman, sorry about that.
Whatever.
Madam Chair, Ed, I just want to make sure, because it can be confusing. Yes means,
Replacing the MCAS graduation
and a
requirement.
no means,
Keeping the MCAS graduation requirement.
so I think sometimes it can be.
It is confusing. I didn't write the language.
I know, but I'm just saying, so just so everyone's clear, so you'll be discussing the yes or the no, but yes makes the change, no doesn't make
Things
the
is
change.
status quo.
Okay. Just send me the language and we'll vote on it at the next meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, is there anyone else here for public participation? Monty, come on up.
Okay.
It's a new mic system. You don't have to
Oh.
lean in.
Ooh, 21st century system. Hi, my name is Monty Pearson. I'm a member of Burlington's town meeting, and I want to explain why I'll be opposing your Fox Hill proposal in 2 weeks. First, the $30 million the State Building Commission is giving the town for the building is fool's gold. The money is coming to us only because we agreed to build a school that is too small for Burlington's needs. Yes, we'll be creating space for some essential development skills classrooms and the lab educational collaborative, but the state has insisted that the school's regular program enrollment must be for 100 students fewer than there are currently being educated there. If this happens, then some of the homes currently in the Fox Hill district will have to be redistricted into other schools in town. Second, while I agree that the Fox Hill School needs to be upgraded, we have spent the last 13 years telling the state that our high school is in desperate need of extensive renovations. The entire HVAC system should be replaced years ago and could be a major source of danger if the nation is faced with another deadly pandemic before it's replaced. If the ancient boilers break down, this town could be forced to spend millions on temporary heating and cooling solutions before then spending tens of millions on the new system that should have been installed in the first place. In addition, we have many classrooms without windows. We have science labs designed for the 1970s. There are no sprinklers in parts of the building, and much of the building is not ADA accessible. The building is rapidly becoming obsolete. Currently, the town's capital budget says that no money will be spent upgrading the high school until 2032, 8 years from now. The $30 million from the state for the Fox Hill project pales before the millions of extra dollars we will have to pay for construction on a big project in the 2030s. Once again, the state money turns out to be fool's gold. Finally, I want to remind you that the high school is the beating heart of our community. Young people from every part of town come here for 4 crucial years to experience social, emotional, and academic growth that will send them out into the world as young adults. They will make friendships that last a lifetime, learn important lessons about who they are as people, have experiences that help them choose professional careers, and will gain academic skills that help them succeed in college or other training programs. They will give back to Burlington through the activities that parents and others regard as central to this community: concerts, plays, presentations, football and basketball games, other sports. For these reasons, I believe that we need to postpone the Fox Hill rebuild and start work on the high school as soon as possible. Thank you.
Comments, Dr. Conti?
Again, Madam Chair, I don't really want to comment on a public comment, but I just want to make sure there's some information out there that's clear. When you work with the MSBA, as you all know, you have to agree to an enrollment number. The enrollment number is different than the capacity of the building. So I think those are two distinctions that we need to make. Capacity would be like the number of students that can fit on a bus. If we have to make adjustments and move some seats so that students who need specialized transportation can ride the bus, then we may have to limit some of the other students who are sitting on the bus, but the capacity of the bus doesn't change. So the new Fox Hill is being built with at least 30 full-size classrooms. If you want to compare what the capacity is, when we built Memorial School through the MSBA process, Memorial School was built with a capacity of roughly 500 students. So again, we have to pick an enrollment. When MSBA looks at enrollment, they look at enrollment across all 4 elementary schools, and they distribute the kids as they see fit. That doesn't mean that we can't have more than 325 students in the building. The building clearly has a capacity for more than that. It's a larger school than Memorial, and Memorial was built for 500 students. How we use that space is up to the district. As an exercise, I asked David that say, if we snapped our fingers and the new Fox Hill was available as designed on Monday, we said, I asked him to put every current Fox Hill student in the new building with lab programming and with 2 additional classrooms from Pine Glen. All the students fit, all the students had classrooms, all the specialists had their spaces, and I think there were 7 or 8 additional teaching spaces available. The building is 40,000 square feet bigger than the existing Fox Hill. So again, I understand the 325 is an enrollment number that we had to choose. It was an enrollment number, again, driven across 96 elementary classrooms. That's how the MSBA looks at Burlington and distributes the kids. So the next question is, if we were to open, again, a new Fox Hill on Monday, would we have to redistrict? The answer was we may not. So I don't want to answer the redistricting question until we get closer to where we were going, but it's not a definite that we're going to need to do this. There's a difference between the capacity of the building and the enrollment that we had to choose with MSBA. And again, this would be our 2nd largest elementary school, and it would be, from my perspective, if it went through the same process as Memorial, which also has a lab program in it, it was designed to have a capacity of roughly 500 students. And the last thing I would say is, this is a very competitive grant program, and the state looks at not only different aspects of the building and the building envelope, but they also sort of look at the program needs. So the state is telling us that Fox Hill needs to be replaced. That's one of the reasons it was accepted into the state grant program. And they don't give that endorsement lightly. I think the research we did, and we just went through the presentation, is the year that this was approved, I think it was a 21% acceptance rate. I think there were roughly, 80 projects submitted and 15 or so selected, and Fox Hill was one of those 15. If we turn down this project and this grant, the state's not going to turn around and fund the high school right away. Typically, there's a 7 or 8 year wait to get back into the program, and the logic sort of befuddles me. The Fox Hill need doesn't go away. So if we forget Fox Hill and just say, let's focus on the high school, we're still going to be utilizing Fox Hill. The building still needs to be addressed, and the building is addressed as needing to be replaced, not only locally, but also by the Massachusetts State Building Authority, and the costs will just go up. They'll increase by the $30 million, plus any escalation that's going to happen in the future, which I think puts the high school project at more risk than taking care of business that we have now. There's no ideal way to do this. Building costs are hugely expensive, but again, the $30 million is hard-fought, well-deserved. It's been a 4 or 5 year process that we've really worked with the state, and it's not something that I think has any sort of, we've not gone about this lightly at all, and I don't think it detracts from the needs of the high school, which I would agree, Mr. Pearson, the high school does need to be replaced, and we'll put the same effort into the high school project and coming up with a solution. But again, ignoring Fox Hill doesn't make the building needs go away. It just makes them much more expensive, and I think it puts future projects, again, just makes all future projects more expensive. So, but please, the enrollment and the capacity of the building are something I hear all the time. This is not a small elementary school. It is an elementary school that I think will serve Burlington well into the future for 50 years.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address this?
I guess I would like to speak. I guess in my opinion, again, I realize obviously I'm chair for the high school project, and it's a very important project. But I feel very strongly that if we don't accept the money from MSBA for the Fox Hill project, our chances of getting any money for the high school is reduced significantly. It's very difficult to get MSBA to approve projects. As we know, we've tried to get the high school approved for many, many years. With the people we're working with, we feel that if we, present everything properly, we go through this process, we're following the MSBA process for the high school project, even though it's not officially an MSBA project. We feel very strongly that once we're ready to present again to MSBA to try and get funding, that we have a strong case showing other neighboring towns who are in very similar situation as we are, that we might have a stronger case that we're presenting in the future. So we have to look and take into account everything that's going on, and we want to make sure that we don't upset MSBA in terms of our future, in terms of getting money from them if we turn them down when they're being so generous in accepting our Fox Hill project.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? I have a couple of brief comments. One is that having been involved, watching, knowing what's going on in both Woburn and Beverly, they had a series of buildings, and SBA helped them with all of them. And to ruin our relationship with SBA, I think, would be foolhardy. You may see this as fool's gold. I see it as $30 million towards Fox Hill School, which is very, very in need of replacement. In addition, I would just say that I think the high school is going to be a heavy lift because it will be so expensive. And I think that if we are a divided community where some people want Fox Hill and some people want the high school, and the people that don't want Fox Hill anger the people who do want Fox Hill, we're going to have a very divided community. And what we need is a united community. We need everyone to be on the same page. We'll probably need a debt exclusion, and we need to be all together in raising the bar on the schools in this town. So my opinion is that we are far better off taking the money, doing the building, being a united community, and then all working together to get the high school. That's how I intend to behave and go forward with this, and I hope that everyone else on this committee will do the same thing. Thank you. Your 3 minutes are up, I'm sorry.
That's right. I understand that.
Okay.
I have lots of responses, but I obviously am out of time, so I won't give any responses.
Is there anyone else here for public participation? No? Okay, is there anyone online? No? Okay, moving on. The next item on our agenda is the student report.
Hi, everyone. As you all know, the school year just began. So new student councils are just meeting up, have started meeting up during flex blocks to discuss events and fundraisers, as well as clubs and after-school activities. I know for Girls in STEM, I'm the co-president, so we're starting to plan events for the new members, and we had the activity fair last week, I think, and we got a bunch of new members as well as for robotics. So on Wednesday for robotics, which is tomorrow, we're gonna have the new members come in and do stations so they can get to know them. Some updates for each of the grades student council. The freshmen haven't been elected yet, so that should be happening soon. The sophomores are planning whole class fundraisers. They do that every year, pretty sure. They are doing planning for pies and candles for their whole class fundraisers, and they have their pre-pep rally party in which they decorate the bleachers and everything for their pep rally. The juniors are planning a spike ball tournament in May. And they're also planning a Spirit Week hallway decorating event, which we still need to get approved, and we still need to have our first plenary session about that. And the seniors, they're doing a truck day stall, and they are also doing a soccer night fundraiser. And that's all they have planned for now. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Did Matt Shannon remind you that you had to stay the entire?
Oh, don't say that. Does anyone have any questions
All the
for
way to the bitter
Rashida?
end?
No, I just wanted to say welcome and I'm really excited to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to say welcome too. Sorry I'm not there in person, but you'd rather not have me there.
But you might have caught her cold if she was here, and that wouldn't be good, so. Thank you for being here. You can stay, or you can go. You do whatever you want, okay? You got homework?
Yeah.
Usually that's the way.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Welcome. Hoping for a big Devil Bots season this year as well.
Double bus?
Devil Bot.
Yeah, that's a robotics.
Oh. Yeah, the robotics team is really neat. I went to one of their programs in the spring, and it was really fascinating. I love having the girls involved in it.
I know, I'm the lead for the mechanical team, so we were hoping
Oh,
this
good
year
girl.
that we get a lot of girls to sign up.
Yeah.
So at the activity fair, we had a lot of girls sign up, so I'm hoping that goes well tomorrow.
That's great.
Excellent.
Really proud of our girls when they do the projects that everyone used to say girls couldn't do, but now the girls are showing them they can do anything, even run for president. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. The next item is subcommittee reports. Jeremy, that might be you.
Yes, it is. Not a lot on Recreation Commission. Our last meeting was canceled due to some last-minute conflicts. Mulch was in place. Fences have been fixed around Marshall Simons. I also want to take a quick second to address the light issue at Marshall Simons last night.
Oh, yeah.
The football team was without lights. That was due to some contractors inadvertently hitting a switch that turned off our system that turns the lights on automatically. I'd like to also thank Mr. Cunha and Mr. Egan both. They jumped in on it as soon as they got out of their meetings. Troubleshot it for a good 45 minutes, got it figured out after the practice was over when they got into the blockhouse and realized that the switch was stripped. So we don't see it being an issue moving forward. Again, it was just a contractor went in there, bumped a switch, and unfortunately the lights were out. So it's definitely something that should be corrected.
Is it not fixed?
It is. It just, the contractor's in there working on a transformer. During the process of that work, the switch that turns the lights on automatically got turned off.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is that it?
That is it.
Any other subcommittee reports?
I have a wellness committee subcommittee report. We had virtual wellness committee meeting last week. One big thing that last year the wellness committee focused on parent engagement. Mrs. Concession came and Ms. Dowdy to present the Youth Risk Behavior Survey and some of the other surveys they've taken on parental involvement. So the Wellness Committee is kind of a cross-collaboration. We have folks from, Barbara Conley's on there, we have a couple health teachers. What's Gloria's new title? The family liaison directive. Okay.
Family and community engagement.
Okay, exactly. So it's a lot about community engagement, parent engagement. So we talked a lot at this meeting about back to school nights. So I believe we're going to offer Parent Square support at the back to school nights, which I think will be really helpful because Parent Square is obviously our biggest parent engagement tool. So unfortunately, all the elementary school ones are on the same night, so they're working through how they can staff that. The PTOs, and in coordination with mental health team and the BPD, are having a townwide PTO hosted safety night. So I'm very excited about that. It's October 9th. We're going to get that on the calendar very soon. But Detective Lyons is going to go through, so all the PTOs are going to get together. We're going to host a meet and greet for the parents so they can join the PTO, meet the PTO members, and then there'll be a presentation from the police department on what they do to physically keep our students safe, and then Ms. Conceition will present on how she makes kids feel safe in the schools. So I think that I'm hopeful that would be really good parent engagement tool to better understand what's happening in the schools and how their children are being kept safe. And then we will reconvene the Wellness Committee, I believe, next quarter to go look at the Youth Risk Behavior Survey again.
I believe Megan's on that also.
Yeah, I never received an invitation to the meeting.
Yeah, could you?
No.
Could you guys make sure Megan gets invited to all those meetings? Are there any comments or questions? That sounds really interesting.
Madam Chair, Ms. Massardo, did they, going through the YRBS data, this is a YRBS year for us, so again, another round, were they looking for a time to present to school committee?
They just presented to us, right? So it was,
Yeah.
we were looking at that data,
At that
like
data?
looking at actions. They did the glows and the grows, right? So we were gonna maybe look through some of the grows to keep working.
Okay, and again, this is, we do it every other year, this is a year for us to do that
Yep.
again.
All right. Megan, sorry that happened. I'm sure they'll make sure you're included on the rest of them,
Thank you.
on the meetings. Are there any other subcommittee reports? Okay. Ways and Means, anything? Anybody on there? They're meeting on the 18th to vote on the Fox Hill project. Other announcements? Eric, are there any announcements?
Madam Chair, yes, I just wanted to take a minute of gratitude. This is our first meeting since opening day, and if any of you dropped off your students or even were around town on opening day, there was just such an incredible police presence, and I want to make sure that I reach out and thank Chief Brown for his collaboration. And we just have such a great team from the police department, led by Captain Dan Hannafin, Detective Dominic Calicchio, Detective Patrick Lyons, Officer Dan Murphy is a new addition, and Officer Keith Shepard, who's been here for a while. And again, we have a separate safety committee, and Captain Hannafin and Detective Lyons are on our safety committee. So just great partners. And what I noticed, and again, I'm sure if you are in schools, you'll see when our SROs are walking around, if Dom is walking around or Patrick is walking around, it's just very comfortable. Kids come up to them, they just appear like a part of our staff, and I just think it's such a great way to for the partnership to work. I think sometimes on the sort of national news, SROs can get a bad rap, and here in Burlington, again, I consider them just part of our staff, and students are very comfortable with them, and it's just, it was just great to see their presence, and they're just part of our school experience for kids. So again, thank you, Chief Brown. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think we're all very appreciative of their efforts. They've been great. Megan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I witnessed the same thing at the Special Olympics Field Day. It was really special, and I think that, yeah, I can definitely see the bond that our SROs have with our students, all students, and I think it's wonderful.
Any other announcements? I have just, it's really not an announcement, I just want to mention the events that happened in Georgia and how awful it was, and how, I'm sure all of us feel terrible for those families. And later on under new business, maybe we could just discuss doing an extra safety check of our own buildings. And I found the technology they had that probably saved a lot of lives. I found that fascinating, and I wondered if maybe we could talk to our police department about it. Okay, because safety comes first. Learning, Equity, and Thriving Literary Review, Pre-K to 12 with Dr. Gail Lovett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm sure the committee's great delight, Dr. Chen is going to be leading us through this entire part of the school committee agenda, so you don't have to listen to me for a while. So, Dr. Chen, thank you very much, and remember, I don't set too high a bar for me to follow. You know what the committee's used to, so just drone on and on and on, and we'll go from there.
Go into
Go right into the PowerPoint.
the PowerPoint, please. Non-to journey literacy review, please.
I've relinquished control of the PowerPoint. So I'm going to be saying click a lot, I think.
Yes.
I'll get started.
Yes, go
All
ahead.
right. So thank you for having me back in Burlington. Click. Hey, you are like this. I'm Gail Lovett. It's been such an honor and a privilege to be here. I got to spend today working with teachers and leaders in Burlington. So everybody knows where I am and who I am. I wear a lot of different lenses when I come at this work. I was a teacher in Alexandria City, Virginia, which is right outside DC. I taught 3rd grade, I taught 5th grade. For many years, I was an elementary and then a middle school administrator. Fun story, Pat at Memorial and I missed each other by a couple of years in the same school district. So all roads seem to lead back to Burlington in some ways for me. And I realized very quickly when I was a middle school administrator that I didn't have the knowledge depth that I needed to act as an instructional leader in literacy. So I went and got a reading specialist license and added that endorsement and loved it so much that I moved my husband and I to Charlottesville, Virginia, so I could go to UVA. So after I finished my PhD there, I stayed on as faculty and I led partnerships between the University of Virginia, the Virginia Department of Ed, and priority identified schools and school districts. So those at the time were the really persistently low achieving in the bottom 2%. And the things that we focused on in those schools were literacy, numeracy, and instructional leadership. And I actually worked with Dr. Kateri Thunder there as well. See, all roads are leading back. And I'm also wear the lens of a mom. So I have 3 kids. They are, I'm in an odd year. They're 13, 11, and 9. And my son, right in the middle, he started wearing bathrobes to school last year, and I have not talked him out of it, and they love him. But he receives special education. He has a few specific learning disabilities and receives OT. And he was in kindergarten when the pandemic struck. So that following year was his unpaid special education paraprofessional in my basement school while he went to Zoom 1st grade. So that entire time I watched teachers killing themselves trying to teach literacy through a screen. And that prompted me to take a leave for a year as faculty at UVA, and I went and decided I wanted to be part of the solution. in the post-COVID recovery we're all still experiencing. And I was a reading specialist in a Title I elementary school, public elementary school in Charlottesville. So I always talk about this because I've very recently been a part of schools and in schools and done a lot of the literacy work that I get to work with Burlington around. And I also wear the lens of my son struggled for a long time learning to read, and I'm a reading specialist. So that was a very difficult time. And I also want to shout out all the special education teachers. They are heroes. And I said this today, like I have a real heart for special ed teachers because of that. So you can click. We were almost there. So I had the privilege of doing a literacy review, and it's a bound review. So it went from February of 2024 through June of 2024. And so it spanned preschool all the way through 12th grade. So I spoke with Eric and Lisa, and they brought me in, and I went in to see where literacy stands in Burlington. And I had several data sources that informed the report. Click. We're almost there. We're going to get there by the end. I was here for 5 days. That was amazing. I got to be in 58 instructional settings where literacy is delivered in Burlington, all the way from the Early Childhood Center, which is a very special place, through high school classes. I observed in core ELA classrooms, intervention settings, L push-in, L pull-out, inclusion classes, language-based classes. I was able to stay in most classes for around 20 minutes. And so I always want to caveat that data with that is a snapshot. It's one day, one point in time of what is happening, but it was very informative of sort of the general representation of the literacy program. And I got to go to all of the schools, which was really awesome. I also was able to collect what we call like qualitative data. So I had a lot of meetings. I participated in virtual meetings with school leaders, with reading specialists, with special education teachers. I also, while I was here, got to have meetings with teachers. I met with community members. And so that helped to inform the findings. And it also helped me to get clarity around some things that I was observing and seeing, just so I could, what we call like member check. I could make sure that I was interpreting things correctly. And then I had quantitative data. You're like staring at me now. I could feel it on the side of my head. We're going to get there. I also had access to quite a bit of quantitative data. It was so transparent. Lisa just gave me logins. Like, here are our data. So I was in the Amplify DIBELS data. I was able to look and use the iReady data, and also was in the MCAS data for 22-23, which was the data that were available when I was doing the review.
Next.
He's got it. We're on. We're good. We're like symbiotic. Finally, I wanted to make sure that everybody had input and feedback in informing the findings. So I sent out a survey, and it touched upon things that I wanted to confirm, areas that teachers felt were really strong in Burlington, areas that they felt were areas for growth, because the educator input, the people who are delivering the program, is probably some of the most important in this process. So we sent that out. We sent it out late in the school year. So I totally recognize that June is wild for those of us in schools. I got a lot of responses. So I was able to get 67 responses, and they were representative of all areas. And then I got, we sent it out to ELA teachers in the secondary schools, and I also got reading specialists and a few tutors. So I would consider it to be robust, and the Early Childhood Center folks also were able to give some input in it. Next. Oh, we're good. Okay, and then finally, this was not an exhaustive list of every document, but I got a lot of emails from Lisa Chen, who gave me access to a lot of BPS documents, and so those also informed them. And because of that, there were 6 main findings. I'm going to give a very brief overview. They are more in depth in the literacy review and report, but I wanted to walk through each of them. And the first one, the most important one, is that you have incredible teachers here. And Burlington is a special place. I work with a lot of districts across the country. And when I asked them how long they had been teaching and how long they'd been in Burlington, a teacher in Burlington, you have an exceptional number of teachers who have been here for a very long time. So the amount of institutional knowledge and commitment that your teachers display towards your students is really significant. And I think it's something that's really noteworthy. They have a lot of institutional knowledge. And I'm working with districts right now. You can look in any newspaper. There are teacher shortages everywhere. And so when I'm working with districts, it's a room full of brand new teachers or teachers in their first couple of years. So when I was in Burlington, it was the level of experience and expertise was very evident. The kids were amazing. The classrooms were inviting. All of the interactions that I observed between the educator and students were very, very positive. Even I was telling folks today, I'm not tall. And so when I was walking through the high school, I had high schoolers stop me and ask me if I needed help to get to where I was going, which was mind-blowing in some ways, and just a testament to the culture and the climate and the lack of, the depth of respect that your teachers and your students have in your schools. So that is a huge asset. That is not an asset that, you can go out and easily replicate. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And then there were some areas in the findings which were areas of growth. So when we're talking about a multi-tiered system of supports in our English language arts, which is our literacy program, the goal is always to work within this framework where we have at least 80% of our kids getting their needs, their literacy needs met in the core grade level classroom. And we always know there are going to be some kids who need some strategic intervention. They might need to practice a skill more. They might need to solidify a foundational skill. And then we know there's also about 5% in an ideal, healthy, effective MTSS that are going to need intensive interventions. But the good news is the research shows that the vast majority of kids will learn to read if we provide them effective grade level instruction and also interventions as needed. There were many systems already in place. So Burlington is universally screening their kids. That's fantastic. So there were components of MTSS that were there, and then there are components that need some further refinement and alignment, and that's a thing you'll hear me say a few times. Some of the feedback that I got, some of the things I saw in the documents were just discrepancies or inconsistent applications of things between schools across the district, and that came up quite a bit when I was speaking to educators as well. So there were two sub-findings for this that became very clear. In the elementary level, BPS is data rich. We were doing, or you all were doing, a lot of screening, and when we look at what was being used, some of it is redundant, so we're sort of assessing the same thing over and over again. And kudos, because you were already using two screeners that are normed or validated and approved by the Department of Ed in Massachusetts, and that was iReady and DIBELS 8. There were some other screeners or assessments that were being used that we now know that may not be, they're more informal, they are not validated, they're not reliable in predicting reading risk. And so that's an opportunity cost. When we're spending the time assessing students, we're taking time away from instructing students, and that's time away from the teacher as well. And then on the sub-finding, the other one was just that there were inconsistent Tier 2 supports in during the ELA block, so providing some targeted, very quick intervention for students based on assessment if they needed more practice with a certain skill that was sort of inconsistently applied. And then I did not see a document that articulated a continuum of interventions. So what I did observe is some interventions were used with some students and some interventions were used with other students, but without a sort of protocol and guidelines around that, it's hard to know what to do if a student isn't responding to that intervention. And then I noticed, and the high school brought to my attention several times, that there is no reading specialist right now to provide that intensive intervention specifically in literacy at the high school level. And then another finding that I want to stress first is that there are elements of what we call evidence-aligned instruction happening. So in Tier 1, in English Language Arts, Burlington Public Schools provides explicit systematic phonics instruction. That is light years ahead of many districts right now. And my understanding is it's been going on for many years. So our students are getting those foundational skills, which is fantastic. But we also know, and I heard from many of the ELA teachers, that they have almost so many resources that they aren't quite clear on what to use, how to use, when to use it. And there isn't a core comprehensive English Language Arts curriculum for them. And because of that, this was a pretty salient finding, our teachers are spending significant amounts of time building a curriculum themselves in English Language Arts. So 81% of preschool through grade 12 folks said that they spend a significant amount of time. Over half of the respondents in the open-ended feedback commented, we desperately need a core program. We need a core program. It just kept coming up over and over and over again. Okay. Our data actually pan that out and show that. My bars got cut off on the bottom, but this is actually 2024 MCAS data. So now that I'm here, your MCAS data are released. And I think what stands out, oh, thank you, with that is our percentage of students, all students who are meeting or exceeding, who are proficient readers on the MCAS, is only around 57% in third grade. And so that's roughly a little more than half of our students are reading proficiently. And that the ELA MCAS looks at all of ELA. So it includes writing, it includes conventions and reading as well. And so, you know, we see that it's not great for all of our students. And when we drill in even deeper, we see pretty staggering discrepancies. So the colored bars indicate subgroups of kids. So in comparison to in third grade, 57% of all students being proficient on the MCAS, our multilingual learners, it was only 15%. And only 10% for our students with disabilities and 43%. So the core instruction in Tier 1 that students are receiving is not meeting the needs of all students. Okay, next. Excellent. Can you move it down a little bit? It cut off the top. Excellent, thank you. Okay. One of the very clear things is that the COVID-19 pandemic had a pretty significant impact on instructional delivery models and instruction. So almost every educator I talked to talked about what was before COVID and the staffing before COVID, the resources before COVID. The tiering model that's used in the elementary schools is essentially students who are identified as below grade level are all in one classroom. They call it a Tier 2 classroom in the grade levels that are listed there. And then we have other students who are receiving grade level instruction from there. This model, it was one of the first things when we met with the reading specialist, they kept saying before COVID, this worked successfully, it worked effectively. Since COVID, we haven't had the staffing, we've had other barriers to implementing it. You'll see in the report, there are some schools that had to discontinue this model in some classrooms or in some grade levels, I'm sorry, because of staffing. And also, you'll see there's data in the report that shows that there is an overrepresentation of students who are multilingual learners in these Tier 2 classrooms. There's an overrepresentation of students with disabilities in these Tier 2 classrooms. And what the data show is that in the majority of classrooms that were Tier 2, the iReady reading data, those students, the majority of the students in those classes were not meeting grade level benchmarks. Oh my gosh. Great. Another finding is that BPS is very data rich, and I showed you all of the assessments that are being collected, and we know that data-informed decision-making is really the heart of an effective MTSS framework, and the literacy data are all really important, not only to look at the student level, but also to look at the classroom level, the grade level, to see if our Tier 1 instruction is effective in meeting the needs of the kids. It's also important to look at it at an intervention level to see if our students are responding to our interventions, and if they're not, we need to change something about the intervention. And when I was given access to all of the data, what I quickly realized is that it's not consistently, the algorithm to save it is not consistent. So it made aggregation at the grade level very difficult. Within a school and across schools, and in some cases the data weren't saved by classroom teachers, so then we were just looking at it at an individual level. So these are easy fixes that can allow instructional leaders and reading specialists and district leaders to get a bird's eye view of how our students are responding, what's going on individually, but also at the classroom, at the grade level, at the school level. The other thing that became apparent is that there is more professional development needed for teachers. So I asked, when was the last time, or have you received guidance and help with using assessment data? And you'll see that the majority of them responded that they haven't. So that is an area that is needed, that we need to address. And then finally, alignment came up, and it's woven through all of the findings. It was after we need a core elementary curriculum program and middle school curriculum program, it just kept saying alignment, alignment, alignment. We need to be aligned. So the pressure points for that were really between the elementary school and the middle school, right in that 6th grade transition year. And then again, at the high school, I heard it about 9th grade. There was an alignment between 8th and 9th grade. And when I'm talking about alignment, I'm talking about alignment in all of the areas that are listed there: alignment of data practices, alignment of curriculum, so that the teachers knew what the kids were learning in the year before, alignment for the rigor of the instructional program, all of those areas. So this was a pretty urgent need and a pretty significant need that came up. And then the final slide, and then we're done, are my recommendations. So I made these recommendations based on the findings. They're in 3 general areas. They're in structures, the BPS structures, effective core Tier 1 grade level instruction for students, and then also in the area of an MTSS framework. And those are detailed in the report.
Thank you. And what I'm going to share with you guys are really our next steps with what's going on, okay? And so this report was shared with our administrators, with our instructional leadership team, at the same time with our reading specialist as well, too. And so what the Literacy Task Force is going to be doing, and we actually met today, is we're taking a look at 4 curricula that have been, 2 of them of which have been Massachusetts state approved. The other 2 are pending, but all of them are based on research best practices. And I can tell you that we had probably I was supposed to only have 20 teachers, but I had a lot of overzealous teachers that wanted to be on this committee, which is very exciting. So we have about 28 teachers, and they're all representative of all the way from pre-K all the way to high school. We also had a lot of administrators sitting on those teams, and we're taking a look at 4 curricula, and we're going to be looking at that process. Meanwhile, what we've also done, and this was something that all the teachers had wanted, and also the reading specialist, is we've eliminated the DRA assessment. That is gone. That is not being done this year. That will give more time back, just so that you know, for teachers to do their teaching. I also want to tell you that I also gave a lot of latitude to what is in the best interest, because the principals are the instructional leaders. I've checked in with them. It looks like all the principals, and they're checking on one grade, but I do know that Memorial, Pine Glen, I'm checking in with Francis Wyman with one grade, and also Fox Hill have decided that this year that they do not want a tier. That's across the board from them. I know that at the same time, tomorrow, that Gail, Dr. Lovett, is a DIBELS 8 national trainer. She's going to be working with all of our reading specialists and all our tutors and providing them the DIBELS 8 training. It's about a 6-hour training. And then on our on our other professional development day, we have what's set up. She's coming back. It's going to be about 247 teachers. They're all going to get trained in DIBELS 8. So we're going to have the same language. And they are going to be our special education teachers in elementary school. They're going to be our English language learner teachers, our speech and language pathologists, also, and all our elementary teachers that teach reading. And then in our other PD session, that the one I own, or the district owns, excuse me, we're going to have our middle school English teachers trained in DIBELS 8. We're also going to have our speech and language pathologist, all of our special education teachers in the secondary level. Our L teachers in the secondary level are also going to be trained as well, too. What then is also happening in January is that right now, all of our administrators, because in order for this model to continue to move forward, everyone's got to receive the professional development, and it starts with our administrators. So since this summer, our administrators have been getting professional development on what does effective Tier 1 instruction look like. Today, our elementary principals and even our high school principal started to get training with Gail Lovett on the science of reading. I want them to have a deep understanding of the science of reading. We're going to also build some time in the following PDs for Gail to come back to do also, because in the past, Renee did an excellent job, but because of our scheduling, she was only able to deliver the science of reading more so on slides. And sometimes it's hard to deliver that on slides. So I really want a person who has great knowledge in the research and on best practices to be delivering that, and that's got to be live in person. The other thing that in January that's happening that I heard very loudly and clearly from the teachers is that we have access now to iReady. So what's going on in order to make it longitudinal for us to collect the data is that iReady will also be given both in English and math, and it'll be given all the way up now to even the high school, the 9th and 10th grade level. That's been put into this year. I am in January going to be providing folks in the elementary and middle school teachers. We're going to be looking at bringing in 4 consultants from iReady so that the teachers on that professional development day will be able to receive the professional development that they should have received, and that the questions, they'll have 1 or 2 sets of data to look at the growth data even of students to really work one-on-one with their reports. They're going to be working with the consultants and knowing how to read the data. And so that really the goal is really to empower everyone, not only the reading specialist, but also the administrators, and also all the teachers in speaking a same common language. And really, I really stress that we are very data rich, but sometimes when we're data rich and we assess too much, what ends up happening is we take a lot of time from instruction. And really, what I've said to both the principals and also to the reading and the math specialists, that less is more, but we just need to go deeper. And so we're continuing to use our universal screeners for literacy. It's going to be DIBELS 8, and it's going to be iReady. And one is a universal screener, and one is both norm reference and criterion reference. That's going to be very important. That's also going to be happening in math as well, too. And so these are slow steps, but they're steps by steps that we're putting in. The other thing that we're also putting in is we've begun receiving PD on what's called the writing revolution. The Writing Revolution are from the makers of KTL Training that we've used. This is the book that is research-based on the Writing Revolution, because one of the areas that we do need to focus on, K through 12, and I've heard it from the teachers, is on our writing program. Let's just being as transparent as I can be. And so we need to start there. And so there's some steps that we're putting in place. And then this group of 28 educators, along with administrators, are going to be working year-long with Dr. Lovett and with me in choosing a curriculum that's going to go before the school committee. And do you want to talk about the 4 different types of curriculum that we're taking a look at, and the ones that have been by DESE that have been approved, and the other 2, and then the process? A really quick thing about
Really
the
quick process.
Yeah.
So I recommended, and they're in the report, 4 curricula to investigate, to evaluate, to see if they will meet the needs. And when we're saying curricula, we really mean a program that is comprehensive. And of course, we know that some adaptations need to take place. No program is perfect. These are all researched, very well researched. And the first one is DESE approved, it's CKLA. And Amplify CKLA. EL education, also DESE approved. These are comprehensive core curricula. They include writing, they include foundational skills, they include grade level reading. And the other thing I should say about all 4 is that they are considered knowledge building. So they provide rich, deep content knowledge for students, because we know that content knowledge is really, once we can crack the code and read automatically, it's that deep content knowledge that we need to understand and comprehend. And so a lot of research has shown that we need to have curricula that are knowledge rich, knowledge deep, content rich. So DESE has approved CKLA, we're looking at that, Amplify, and EL. Wit and Wisdom is another program that we're looking at. The Wit and Wisdom does not have a foundational skills piece, but BPS is using Foundations, which is systematic, evidence-based, explicit phonics instruction. So Foundations can pair into that. It also has a writing component. And then the final one is Bookworms, another research-validated curricula. Those 2 have not yet been approved by DESE. And when we're saying approved, also DESE has evaluated and reviewed them. The first 2 I talked about, the Amplify and the EL education. So the process is really where we got to meet today. The teachers' faces lit up like it was Christmas when we walked in, and they looked at all of the boxes. We met today. We set our norms. We talked through our process. Our process is really to understand why we need a knowledge-rich curriculum, to understand why we're doing this, and then to form subcommittees to agree on evaluation tools that we can use, because not every, like I said, no curricula or no program is perfect. So we want to make sure that our L teachers are looking at it to make sure that it supports multilingual learners. What are the resources available in this curricula? Because it is a tier 1. It's a grade level core curriculum that every student will receive. So we're going to form subcommittees. They got to rank their choices today, which subcommittee they want to be on, and we're going to narrow from 4 to 2. And then we're going to take the 2 out to the community, the teachers, the caregivers, all stakeholders, and let them explore them as well. And we'll come back, we'll write a report, and we'll present the one that we want to put forward to school committee in, I think it's early February.
It's early February, and then the one thing that we're also going to do is, and we're planning this, is that on December 11th from 6 to 7:30, we're going to be hosting a parent literacy night, because we'll have a little bit more information about the process. From 6 to 7:30, it's going to be opened up for all K through 8 families. And the curriculum that we're looking for, because this is the middle school teachers even saying that they want a core curriculum, they want a writing curriculum, they want interventions. It's been long overdue. It's going to expand from K through 8. When we've done the research, there isn't a research-based, very strong K through 12 curriculum, but what does exist out there is a K through 8 curriculum, and that's going to help with the transition piece. So that is going to be a save the date on December 11th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's going to be at the high school auditorium. I'm confirming that with Principal Sullivan of the location, but very excited about where we're headed. In between then, what we know about implementation is that it needs to be very strategic. So this team of core 28 teachers are representative all the way from our L teachers. We made sure to have representation from every single elementary school, middle school teachers, some high school folks as well too, and just really great representation. And including, I'm so proud of our principals. Our principals came. They sat on this committee. They're invested. They want this to happen. Is that implementation, this committee is also going to be helping us with how best do we need to implement this, how best do we need to roll it out, and what is the PD that is necessary for our teachers, because we can't just say, okay, fine, this is the curriculum that we want, and then guess what? All of you are going to be adopting every single piece of this, and it's going to be successful. So we've got to create some checkpoints to make sure that this is done in such a way that it's going to be successful for all students, because this is a pretty big investment that we're doing. Yes.
Questions? Jeremy, go first.
So just a couple questions. I guess the first one I'm going to lead off with is, since we're doing all this investment for curricula, what we're going to do over the next few years, it seems like this is a long-term process. How are we going to weave this into the district improvement plan with like smart measurable goals so we know how we're achieving success, meeting benchmarks and so forth would be the first thing we want to tackle. And I just had a couple specific questions based on the briefing.
So I would say, and please, Gail, like right now what we're doing is we're streamlining our assessment data. And so that's step one, right? So we're going to have two pieces of data that we're going to be taking a look at, which is our DIBELS and also our iReady. That is what we're collecting. And then next year, when we begin to put some implementation, we should be able to see some growth in that data. Because if everyone is afforded Tier 1 instruction, every single student, then we should start seeing some growth. One of the things in the report that we just didn't want to present everything because it's in the report that's more detailed is that iReady had a lot of very, very similar correlations to how our students were doing in MCAS data. So that's a very nice piece right there. So we're hoping to see more growth when it comes to our MCAS data. We're hoping to see more growth when it comes also to our iReady data, because one of the things that iReady will do, it also is a predictor of how children will do on their MCAS. And then also at the same time, because we can also disaggregate the data when it comes to our MCAS data, we can also take a look at how our writing is doing. So we should see an increase in our writing as well too. And so these are the measures that we're going to put in. And then in between then, we're going to come together as a committee, because I intend to continue to have this committee, to have the qualitative pieces of data that's even more important. That I'm going to get from the reading specialist, because if people are about to throw apples and bananas and tomatoes at me, then I know that I'm going way too fast. And it's not sinking in. And then I hope also for the parents to tell me at the same time too, how are the kids responding? What are they seeing at home as well too, sir?
And then along with that, because we've mentioned data several times, we're very data rich. Sometimes you become knowledge poor with that. Is there need for data analysts on staff or some way to analyze this data, produce the reports for you that would help automate or inform the teachers and help them out to kind of offload some of that burden?
And I think one of the things is, like, we have a great instrument, which is Open Architect. We just need to get more professional development on that. And then to your question, sir, I think when we have the consultants come in to help us with reading the iReady data, they didn't have that. But when we actually have the consultants come in and they've already gone through the process, those are more specific questions that the teachers themselves can ask. Because our teachers have not had iReady training when it comes to reading the reports. This will be the first time they get it. So I'm really excited for the teachers for that. So it doesn't belong in the hands of just the specialist or even the principals. That knowledge is going to be for everyone.
I think when I worked with Lisa to ensure that the algorithms for saving the data are consistent across, so it goes by classroom, and then you can look at it at the classroom, you can look at it at the grade level, you can look at it at the school, and the principals were thrilled to hear that today. So the data will be much more accessible, and it'll be much easier to aggregate and disaggregate, and that way there won't be 15 clicks involved, or it won't be different between the schools. So even district leadership can look at it in that way.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go?
I'll go. I want to thank you for all the time that you put into this. I really enjoyed meeting with you. I know the other members of the CPAC enjoyed meeting with you last year. And thank you, Dr. Chen, for bringing Gail to our district. I think she's done a fantastic job. I couldn't agree with the report more. I'm very excited for the literacy task force. 28 teachers, that's a lot. I also think 67 responses, that's a lot for us too. It shows the commitment of our teachers and our administrators. I'm thrilled about the DIBELS 8 training. I can't say how excited I am that the DRA is gone, that our classes are not, some schools are moving away from tiering. I hope that that moves on to other schools as well. The PD, I think, in data is going to be very impactful. I think our teachers are working hard, and like you said, we're data rich, but we need to know how to use that data to make the informed decisions. And I think I'm very excited about a Tier 1 program. One of my questions is a Tier 2 program, Tier 3 programs. What have you discussed? What are we looking at? How are we going to be helping the students who are significantly behind, students with disabilities who are really struggling? Or do you have any recommendations for the committee?
Talked about the concrete skills and then talked about the
Oh, the
Tier 2.
constrained skills.
Yeah, the constrained skills
Yeah,
with the
so
same
I think
grouping.
some of what we've already talked about. One of the things I saw, and it's in the report, is you guys have a lot of resources. That's incredible. So many of the teachers, I've looked at lists of teachers and what they're trained in, intervention teachers and what they're trained in. They have access to it. It's not, it appeared to me that if a teacher or an interventionist wanted it, there weren't barriers to get it in that way. And I think having an articulated protocol for if a student is struggling in decoding, we're going to start with this intervention and then move to this one if we need it to be more intensive. When we were looking at sort of short-term versus long-term recommendations, what's screaming is Tier 1. And we can't out-intervene in effective Tier 1. And so that's where we're focusing and tackling. Another shift, and the programs that we're looking at will support this. Another shift is once teachers know how to use their data, then they can deliver those strategic interventions. If a student needs more help in a specific skill, short A, they can, during their intervention time that is attached in their schedule, they can deliver that. They can monitor a response for that. But they just haven't had the depth of knowledge or professional learning they need to be able to do that. So that should help to target that Tier 2, those kids who really need that strategic reteaching, or usually it's fluency. Usually the kids just aren't reading enough. And so each component of the ELA, or each ELA program we're looking at, has those components and also has those additional resources for Tier 2.
Okay, thank you. I'm very excited for the Literacy Night as well. And I just want to thank you again. I'm very excited to see these changes happen, and I'm very excited to watch this process.
Thank you
see
for
student success.
Thanks for giving so much time that afternoon as well.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I echo the sentiments. This was a really great report to read. I did meet, my son is in 3rd grade, and I met with his teacher, and they mentioned that they weren't tiering anymore. I didn't realize it was part of this program, but she was excited about it. She felt like I was glad to hear that she was happy about that choice. So he was nervous, but he'll be good. My question is, and maybe this is for Lisa and Eric, but there's a recommendation for a K through 8 literacy coordinator, or I lost the page. Yeah, literacy coordinator position. I'm just wondering how that differs from our, literacy position that we have now.
The one that we had in the budget was more pre-K to 12, and so we're probably using this report, going to discuss sort of allocating that in a different way. So that's how it would sort of differ, to answer your question.
Okay, so we would just use that position and just narrow it to K through 8?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're going to do that analysis and have a conversation. We haven't necessarily decided exactly, but we have
Okay.
that salary
Okay.
to work with. The high school reading specialist was something that would be
Additional.
something we
Yeah.
have to discuss further.
And through the chair, I just want to say that I support the high school reading specialist as well. I think that's an important position, and we as a committee should support literacy K through 12.
Anything else? You're all set. Catherine, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I was just going to say that I really enjoyed the presentation. I thought it was very thorough. I also am very excited about all the changes and training that's going to take place with the teachers. I can see why they're all excited. I think it's wonderful that we're going to try and transition from, again, school level to school level, so that we're passing off, 5th grade to 6th grade, that they know what they've learned and we're consistent. I think we're kind of doing the same thing with the math program. So again, I don't want to be redundant, but I'm very excited about this whole program and moving forward.
Okay. We used to have a high school reading specialist. At one point in time, that position was eliminated. I don't know why. I think it was prior to you coming here, Eric.
I'm not aware of one. So.
Yeah, we did. We had one. So I don't want my questions to sound silly, but I have some questions that are kind of basic, and part of the reason I want to ask them in this forum is because I think there might be people watching who have similar questions.
Sure.
So, when I went to school, we did Dick and Jane, right? So, and everybody did Dick and Jane. It was not just some kids. It was all the kids did Dick and Jane. So when I read your report, I just want to make sure I understand it completely. When you say that all of the students should receive Tier 1, does that mean heterogeneous grouping? Everybody goes to the same class? Am I describing it properly, or are there still groupings and
small group
So
instruction is.
what we know, what the research continues to show, is that we used to believe that if we figured out a student's reading level and we matched a book to that level, that instructional level, that was the way to reading. And there really isn't research to support that. We now know that instead of changing the level of text for a student who's in 3rd grade, we know we need to change the level of support so that every student in 3rd grade is reading 3rd grade level text.
what about first grade?
Same as 1st grade, same as 2nd grade. And so we call it differentiating the scaffolds. So when you think about scaffolds on a building, we put scaffolds on a building, but they don't stay forever. We take the scaffolds down. So it's the things that we do to support. That is the tier 1 core instruction, but there is room and there is a need for flexible instructional groupings within a grade level, or within a classroom. So when we think about skills that in the reading world, we call them constrained skills because we can target them. They're very explicit. So when we think about decoding and letter sounds and word attack skills, so looking at a word and being able to sound it out, those skills, we know that if we target them intensively, explicitly, we can remediate them. We can catch kids up to where they need to be versus what we consider unconstrained skills. So that has to do with comprehension. So all of our background knowledge is very different based on our life experiences, what we've been reading, our interests. My husband is a chemical engineer. I fall asleep. I can't read any of the papers he writes. I have no idea what's going on in them. So what we want to do with comprehension is we want to make sure that every child is receiving the same content. And so it's 3rd grade level content. We're exposing them to 3rd grade level skills, but comprehension is what we would consider an unconstrained skill. It's highly dependent on your background knowledge. It's highly dependent on your vocabulary. So it's not an easy skill to remediate. It changes based on what the text is about. It changes based on the difficulty of the text, sometimes the structure of the text, sometimes the quality of the text. Comprehension is very fluid. So when we talk about instructional groupings, we want to use our instructional groupings strategically to address our constrained skills, our skills that are word attack skills, our skills that we know we can remediate. We just need more practice with short A. We need to continue to apply short A in these patterns. So everybody deserves and is entitled to grade level instruction, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and they need to be reading grade level texts because we don't want kids to get in front of the MCAS at grade level, and that is the most complex text they've been exposed to the whole year. So what we do now is we change the way we support the kids into the text, and some of that could be by continuing to work on constrained skills in addition to reading that. Some of it could be working on kids who don't have background knowledge on, today I talked about birds a lot, I don't know why, birds, but if I don't know anything about birds and I'm about to read a text about birds, I might need to pull a group of kids and give them some background knowledge and talk them through birds so that they can fully understand and comprehend what's going on in that text.
How do you do all this in like Mrs. Jones' first grade classroom? How does it
Yes,
happen?
it's a
Do you have
lot.
extra people? Do you have pullouts? Do you have sections within the classroom so one group's reading, another group's getting help on short A's? Or
You can. That's exactly how you can set it up. We know that we would never do with a small group what we can do with the whole class. And so when we're looking at knowledge-rich curricula, everybody's going to learn that knowledge about birds, for instance. So the whole class is going to learn that. And we know that there are kids who can independently go off and read that on their own, and then they can extend into that. And we also know there are kids who are going to need some scaffolding into that, whether it's pre-reading it. So that's when Mrs. Jones can pull her small instructional group that's flexible, that's fluid, and do that pre-teaching for 15 minutes of that, while the other kids who are more independent of that are able to do that.
so it is really heterogeneous then in the class, and I think it's great. I mean, I have always felt that when you have a group that's doing great, and then you have another group that isn't doing so great, the group that's doing so well just keeps moving ahead, and they're your top students, and the other kids are like, always behind trying to catch up.
She's an expert in reading.
And they never do catch up.
That is right, and that's what the research has panned out. And we also know that kids will rise to the occasion. And we also know that when we have high expectations for kids, they will rise to meet those high expectations, but sometimes we wind up inadvertently putting ceilings on kids.
And the
doing
content
that.
helps too, I think,
Yes.
because they all see the same content.
Yes.
And this group isn't thinking, well, I don't get to read that book
Right.
because I'm not as good a reader. But I have another question, and that is, I know there are some children that have a great deal of difficulty, I know Megan would agree with me on this, that have a great deal of difficulty learning traditional reading methods. I have 15 grandkids, and 2 of them needed Linda Mood Bell to help them learn to read. What do you do with those kids? They're gen ed kids, they're not special needs. What do you do with a kid that needs that kind of help?
So we're going to use our data. So that's going to be the first step. We're going to be assessing where kids are, where we want them to be, if it's working. The good news is that these core programs, with the exception of Wit and Wisdom, that you can use foundations in its place, are contain the same principles as Linda Mood Bell. It's that explicit, systematic phonics. But we also know there's about 5% of kids who are going to need intensive interventions even when they're receiving core effective grade level instruction. That's where we use our DIBELS data to screen for reading risk with that. Then we can go deeper with other assessments to really pinpoint where those kids are. So there is room and we know there are some kids who are going to need, who would deserve core grade level instruction, but also will need intensive interventions in addition to. We don't want that to happen in place of. And so that is during that intervention time. So there is an ELA block, and then there is where everybody's getting grade level instruction, and then the elementary schools all have a WIN block, a what I need block, and that is time to deliver that intervention. What we want to be really careful, and it touches on your other point really well, is we don't want to supplant our grade level instruction with that. So they need the grade level instruction because the gap becomes bigger and bigger and bigger where they are and where they need to be. So we need to be purposeful and thoughtful about accelerating the remediation. And there are kids that sometimes they don't respond to an intervention, and then we'll try a different intervention, and that's the one that they respond to. Our kids who experience reading risk and reading failure, my son is one of them. You may have to try a couple different programs to finally land on the one that clicks for them. But we're aware of them. We know that that is something that is part of an MTSS framework. And really, it's about making sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our learners. And the other one note I wanted to say is that what we have seen is that when we have kids in receiving grade level instruction, in research, our multilingual learners tend to take off and soar as well.
Well, my final comment is thank you for being so direct and honest in your report. It was refreshing to see that we needed to make some really big changes, honestly. I think eliminating the tiers and making sure that all the kids get exposed to the Tier 1 reading material, I think it's wonderful, and I thank you very much.
Well, and that goes to the superintendent and assistant
Well,
superintendent.
he's pretty good, he's
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good at this
Open,
stuff.
transparent, very candid, and really, just we're like, come out and see and look and find. So it's a true testament.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? I guess you're off the hook for now, but thank you. That was
Thank you so much.
great report and
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Are we back to you, Dr. Conti?
No, Dr. Chen's
No.
taking over.
Okay, she's running the show, huh? Oh, go for it.
So the next thing that I just wanted us to talk about was, we're going to be taking a look at the second reading. Do we have any questions about the BPS policy AC, non-discrimination and harassment?
Does anyone have any questions? Any comments? All good? Catherine?
I'm good.
You're good. You want a motion?
Yes.
Yes. Martha? Yes, you may.
I just happened to be here tonight when you're reviewing this policy AC, and last week I actually had just finished reading the template, so I don't know exactly what you're looking at. Are you discussing it in order to make some changes in it, or is it just putting it in place?
Dr. Chen.
So what it is we met with, and we use our school attorneys to take a look at this. And what it is it is just taking non-discrimination and harassment, and instead of having all these different policies that talk about everything, it lumps everything into one place. And so it streamlines is what it does. And so there isn't one, for instance, that deals with, let's say, it just covers it under the huge umbrella of what non-discrimination and harassment is.
Good. Okay. So my comment is that there's a separate policy for anti-bullying, and this is called
This is non-discrimination and harassment.
And bullying is often defined as repeated incidents, and this is for incidents where, if kids are being called really offensive names, it can be addressed in those kinds of situations. And the thing that really struck me in reading both of those policies, and they're based, as Dr. Chen, you mentioned, on the legal situation in the state and the federal government, is that they're requiring us to do prevention and to respond. So the education of our children, the training of our teachers and our communities to become caring, nurturing communities where kids are not going to be harassed because they're different, because they have some kind of challenge, because of their skin color, because of whatever. So I know we are doing responsive classroom, where we have the new SEL curriculum, the Wayfinder, and I am hoping that everybody is using that. And this kind of a policy help support that. The other part, though, is the responding, because we know kids are kids, and we need to respond in ways that are going to help kids grow and learn and become more able to work with their peers, to work in the world we live in. And I'm glad that it's come up again because it's such an important issue that everybody needs to be working on and developing and helping our children to learn these important interpersonal skills so that they can be successful in the world. So I just wanted to comment, since I'd just last week been reading about these policies, so thank you.
Thank you. Committee have any questions? Yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, just one question, Madam Chair. So paragraph 4 of this policy states publish one or more grievance procedures. Since we're sending the 4 policies that, this is replacing, are those procedures remaining in place? Are they identified? Are they codified somewhere to ensure we have mechanisms to deal with reports and incidents as they come in place? Because it's not included in the packet.
It is. So not only is it found on our website, it's going to be translated into our 2 main languages. And at the same time, it's being put into all of our student handbooks.
Perfect.
And they're all streamlined.
Okay.
Just want to make sure, just because we're changing stuff.
May I
Yes.
comment on that? Another part of the, does this new combined policy then reference that we are supposed to give an annual report to the state every year about incidents? And so having the procedures in place and implementation, the implementation is important. Making sure that all of our staff know how to document and how to report incidents, knowing that all of our students know that it's okay to report these incidents, and even to do some education for our families, because if a kid comes home and says, so-and-so, this happened today, knowing that they can go to the schools and it will be reported and implemented and documented, because that's the way we can track and make sure that we are reducing these kind of incidents. That, kids are kids, but we need to make sure that we're addressing these kind of behaviors which are harmful to their peers.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the BPS policy AC, non-discrimination and harassment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the motion to a vote. Catherine?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. And moving on.
And the next thing is just the MSMS Student Handbook, the first reading, and the elementary student handbooks, the first reading. Both of them have had a very stringent review with our school attorneys, and they've made all the corrections necessary. I've worked very hard with Principal Tim McMahon to look over these student handbooks. It is streamlined. All the policies are in there. They're all updated. And he's included everything in there, and we've even checked all the links. It's up to date.
This is a first reading, so you wanted to come back at the next meeting? Okay. And
I have-
that's the same with
through the
both.
chair.
Oh, Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, the high school, you're going to talk about the high school homework policy?
No, well, there's that, but I want to make sure that gets added. But also, in the handbook, on page 3, it says Davy Rosenblatt instead of David. There's an E on the end of his name instead of a D.
Okay.
Typo.
Well, he's told us he really wants to go by Davy now. So.
But I will have to
be
Maybe
sure to
think of
ask
the
him.
monkeys,
No, we will fix it, and I appreciate that. But what I really am very proud of is all the elementary principals, oh, thank you, finally have one unified student handbook. It's all unified.
Excellent. Okay, so those will come up at the next meeting for a vote. Now, we have DECA out-of-state travel.
You're on a roll. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, no one saw that. That was an accident. It was but anyhow, I just wanted to make sure to call, you've already heard about what DECA is, the out-of-state travel, and just we'll need a vote for that.
Yeah, where are they going?
Charlotte.
For how long? With enough
4 days?
14th to the
enough
17th.
supervision?
Hang on, we'll get there.
Thank you so much. It's the annual DECA Leadership Conference. It's happening in fall. Burlington would like to bring up to 20 students to this leadership conference. Miss Krista Anderson will be chaperoning, as well as Daniela D'Souza. And there's a link in the packet to the DECA Power Trip to Charlotte, North Carolina. Depending on welfare, we plan to leave on November 14th in the evening, return on the 17th. And students will miss 1 day of school on Friday, November 15th. And the cost will be paid by students, with the chaperone's expenses covered by the business budget, and the cost per student, depending on welfare, which will be cheaper the quicker we get permission and can book this, will be about $800. Registration is $135 plus shared hotel of 3 nights at $220 per student, and approximately airfare of $400. And this experience is a student favorite one, as students get to meet all leaders from around the world, including Germany and all different states, and learn how to participate in a business conference, attend workshops, network, and develop lasting friendships with other students from Burlington.
So make the recommendation.
So could we please make the recommendation that the committee approve this out-of-state travel for the DECA Leadership Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, from November 14th through 17th, please?
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded, what she said. Are there any questions or comments? Catherine?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's unanimous. Have a good time, kids.
right.
Francis Wyman, Apple Distinguished School.
Yes, and at this point in time, I just want to tell you a little bit about the Apple Distinguished Schools, and to congratulate Francis Wyman and to thank our digital learning coaches, and also Dennis Villano for his help with all this, and also, again, to the great leadership of Nicole McDonald and also Daring Dorian, and also all the teachers at Francis Wyman. So what the Apple Distinguished Schools are, they are schools that are recognized for their use of Apple technology to inspire and transform learning and teaching. The program is invitation only and recognizes schools that meet certain qualifications, and they include some of the characteristics: innovative learning, growth mindset, teacher support, dynamic environment, leadership events, expert engagement, peer collaboration. And also, being an Apple Distinguished School, Francis Wyman will be able to collaborate with a worldwide leadership network of like-minded peers, be eligible to participate in engaging, relevant, and innovative professional learning opportunities, engage with the Apple education team, and they will receive invitations to leadership events. They'll be placed in the Apple Distinguished Schools worldwide directory, so that if other schools wish to visit, they can come here in Burlington and look at Francis Wyman. And this recognition is for 3 years, with an opportunity to be invited to continue in the program. And Apple will review all requests to ensure that schools meet the current program qualifications. But again, I want to say that this was an invitation only. So congratulations to all of Francis Wyman. We are extremely proud of you.
Again, I just want to add my congratulations. It's quite an honor. The Apple Distinguished Award, I think there are only 800 schools identified across the country, roughly. So it is, again, a very special award for a group of teachers and educators and principals and everyone who work really hard. So thank you.
Any comments? Well, on behalf of the entire committee, congratulations to Francis Wyman for this honor. I'm sure it's well-deserved, and we're very happy about it. Okay, the next item
Is the Journey to Cares.
is,
And so, Mr. Kuna, could you kindly bring that up, please, sir? You can go on to the first slide, or the second slide, sir. Thank you. Again, these are pictures of Principal Mark Sullivan, in which he gave a meeting with all of the students who played sports, and we attended that meeting as well too. That's been a very informative meeting just to keep our students, for instance, always focused on the character. And then here is Dr. Gail Lovett. She's giving the writing revolution. And then also we have pictures of students who entered in their first day of school. Next, please. And then here we have pictures of all students on their first day of kindergarten, which was very exciting. And also our teachers, for instance, working together, our math specialist, to plan the curriculum. Next group of slides, please. And again, here, these are our teachers learning from Dr. Kateri Thunder on the math program. She had actually come this Monday to work with our teachers. And again, in the right-hand corner, we have our collaborative care model that is launching, and that's very exciting, and a group of our students in which we're meeting for the first time their ESOL teacher. Next, please. In the next slide, again, we have a picture of the collaborative care model that is about to be launched. Also, our BPS Exploration series, in which we are offering pre-professional development on Wednesdays, and these are voluntary, and a lot of them are online, so it gives the teachers the choice, because one of the things that teachers shared with us is they wanted to have the time to learn, but also on topics that they wish to learn about. So the focus is on Tier 1 instruction, differentiation, and also on student engagement. Here we have BPS Launch and Learn series, and that came from recommendations from the Wellness Committee, in which parents can participate during lunch and learn while they are online. Next, please. Just wanted to share that Dr. Conti and I rode the school bus on the first day to school. I got to ride the school bus with Travis Kuna, so I wanted to give a big shout out for allowing Travis, not feeling embarrassed, to let Dr. Chen ride on the school bus with him, and I had a fun time. And I believe you rode on the school bus as well, too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right. We visited all schools during the first day of school. We met with the iReady consultant and math specialist for training. We worked with the director of student information administration assistant on evaluation plans for all staff of Vector. And as we can see in the first picture, we attended the Character Strong with the BHS athletes. Next, please. We also attended the Academic Review Board committee meeting, and want to thank also the school committee members for also attending that. Thank you, Mrs. Novacek, for attending that. Attended the Writing Revolution training with Dr. Gail Lovett, the reading specialist, and also the lead coaches and the LO testing coordinator, and met with the interim K-8 English coordinator and the DEI instructional coach at BHS to discuss the writing plan for K-12, and been working on the civil rights review with all administrators. Next, please. We met with the director of mental health to discuss the bullying prevention and intervention plan. We finalized upcoming professional development with Dr. John Almerode for all the administrators on teacher clarity and Tier 1 instruction. We worked with math consultant Dr. Kateri Thunder and math specialist on upcoming assessment plans, and attended the Algebra 1 committee with Dr. Kateri Thunder. This next slide will show you what we're planning to do when it comes to our timeline of taking a look at not only our plan for implementing Algebra 1 for it to look like in the 25-26 school year, but at the same time taking a look at what the MS textbook adoption will have to look like when we put in Algebra 1 in the middle school for 25 and 26. This is a brief outline of all the work that we'll be doing, and we have about 15 educators and also administrators working with Dr. Kateri Thunder on that, and a lot of representation from the middle school math teachers. Want to thank them for that. Also grade 5 elementary teachers, and also teachers from the high school, because we know that this is vertical alignment that will need to happen. Very exciting times. And in another report, I will give you a more in-depth review of where we are in this process. Next, please. Attended the training for administrators and reading specialists on the science of reading and the literacy review report with Dr. Gail Lovett. As we talked about, want to congratulate Francis Wyman on being an Apple Distinguished School. Digital learning coach Mizelle Ardizzoni has been named a feature presenter at the annual MassQ Educational Technology Conference at at Gillette Stadium this October. Congratulations to you. Next, please. The library team is working on the new Massachusetts Children's Book Award winners and programming for the new collection. And with literacy, we procured high-quality systematic decodable text sets for all K through 2 classrooms. Next, please, we began updating the BPS district literacy protocol and attended the Writing Revolution training and met with new teachers at the mentor training days to give an overview of the math programs and worked on the assessment schedule for all elementary schools when it comes to math and literacy. Next, please. Collaborated with James Swartz to facilitate a bilingual book group for the summer reading program at BHS, and also with the Director of Family and Community Education, worked with the Special Education Central Office staff, the Director of Alternative Programs and Registration, Transportation, provided assistance to support smooth transition to the new academic school year. Next, please, worked with the Director of Mental Health, the BHS administration to implement and begin the collaborative care model starting on September 12, 2024. They presented the model to the BHS faculty and staff. I want to again thank the Director of Mental Health, Chrissy Concession, and also the Director of Family and Community Engagement for their work in this, and also Dr. Outman as well, too, for his outreach and partnership with us. And also, the Burlington Education Exploration Professional Development Series is launched. Thank you again. A huge shout out to Chrissy Concession for organizing this. The fall brochure includes 23 professional development opportunities, again, in the areas of social emotional learning, Tier 1 effective practices, and differentiation. And again, the Launch and Learn Parent Guardian virtual series will begin, and that comes from the recommendation from the Wellness Committee. Next, please. Again, met with the special education team to discuss participation in the DESE SCAPE program. This is the science curriculum adaptation program for special educators. It's an opportunity for district teams of science and special education leaders to lead and collaborate and plan support for students with moderate to severe disabilities in their districts. And also want to thank also the science department, also Wendy Palvacek and Sean Musselman. They started their first semester work with students for the animal care and management course for juniors and seniors. Next, please, we trained staff on the crisis prevention intervention, prepared documents for our tier-focused monitoring, and registered 116 students since June 15th, pre-K through 12. Next, please, the business and finance team. They participated in the DESE end-of-year report annual training sessions. They also worked with department heads to finalize budgets of fiscal year 25 entitlement grants. Next, please. The communication team worked to update our website. They also worked with the Director of Health and PE, Physical Education, Director of Mental Health to compile parent resources to help new and current users to begin to log in the Parent Square platform. And a big shout out to Lauren Angelo, who also updated the BPS mentor program information on the district website. Next, please, the HR human resource team rolled out a new training platform for all staff to complete the annual required training on policy reviews with a smooth transition to the new system. And the feedback has been that they really like ArcEd, that it is more up to date, and the training time has been very resourceful for them. Continued work on the new absence and substitute management system. Next, please, the nursing team has created individualized healthcare plans on new students and updated them on returning students. They've worked with Convenient MD on getting free physicals and sick and first aid services for families with no insurance. And they've collaborated with the Burlington Board of Health. And just again want to thank Susan Luminella for all her support in this on the immunization clinics. Next, please. The operation team has worked very hard, and thank you to Bob Kuna and his team, as well as the custodians preparing schools for the first day. They have looked at bus routes and posted them on the website. The bus app was released on September 3rd. They worked on the middle school bathroom project. The Pine Glen roof was completed and air conditioning nearing completion. The boiler was retubed in the high school, project underway. They received receive delivery on the new maintenance van, and they issue notice to proceed with a varsity baseball field project at Francis Wyman. Next, please, the technology team has updated electronic devices and re-authenticated them to our network to ensure everything is running smoothly. They've updated the telephone systems as staff have relocated within the district, and they continue to review the technology plan to ensure technology is running smoothly. And want to thank Jose De Sousa and his team for working so hard, and also Dennis Villano's team and helping to ensure that everything is up and running with all our iPads and all of our computers. And they also, next please, the technology team have applied critical security patches and updates to all network and telephone devices, reducing vulnerabilities, ensuring compliance with industrial standards. And they have conducted comprehensive system optimizations, including defragmentation, resource allocation adjustments, performance monitoring to ensure all systems are running efficiently and reliably. So that is the full report. I tried to cut down some things because most of it can be found in what will be posted. And again, it's been a great opening. It's run very smoothly, like Dr. Conti has said, and none of this could have happened without not only your support, but the support of families and also the support and the hard work of all our teachers, maintenance, custodians, and all of you supporting it. So thank you.
Okay, any questions, any comments? I just happened to Google Apple Distinguished Schools. Okay. I Googled Apple Distinguished Schools, and I just wanted to read what it said. It's very brief. Apple Distinguished Schools are centers of leadership and educational excellence that demonstrate Apple's vision for learning with technology, and we believe they are some of the most innovative schools in the world. So another congratulations to Francis Wyman on that.
So Mrs. McDonald is online, so again.
Go for it.
Ms. McDonald, just again, another congratulations to you and your staff. Do you want to say something?
She's sort of online.
Am I on?
You are.
I am. So, sorry. Thank you so much for the recognition, and what an honor to be recognized for Francis Wyman. The teachers should be so proud of themselves for implementing the tools that they have at their disposal, allowing all kids to access their learning. So we're proud of all of our teachers, we're proud of the staff, we're proud of our students for helping us to look good in the use of the Apple technology. So thank you to Dennis and Michelle for honoring us in that way, and it is a nice privilege to be recognized. So thank you to all of you for your kind words.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Okay, what's next?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Nicole and I were sort of wrapping up the summer, and as we were moving forward, we omitted having the school committee vote and approve the memorandum of agreement for the BSAA, which is the Burlington School Administrators Association. That's our 12-month employees. That would be our associate principals. That would be our athletic director, our director of the preschool. And again, so asking the school committee to vote to approve a 3-year agreement with the BSAA, again, at the same 3.5% COLA that you've seen across the board. Nicole, you needed a vote from the school committee and a signed MOA in order to process the changes in payroll.
Any major changes?
We added a school safety task force facilitator stipend, so we want someone to sort of be participating in there. But other than that, again, it was the COLA that was really what we're asking you to adjust.
Any questions? Was there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the BSAA MOA, which is the Memorandum of Agreement for the Burlington School, what?
Administrators
Association.
Association.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. If there are no questions, Jeremy?
Yeah, if we're going to do action items like this in the future, I'd like to see the full document we're voting on.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'll take a vote. Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and that's unanimous. Next item, substitute cafeteria worker increase. I assume that's a salary increase or pay increase?
It's an hourly increase, again, and when speaking with Ms. Kasha, we'd like the school committee to increase the substitute cafeteria workers from $15 an hour to $16 an hour. And again, Nicole can justify the request.
This was just to sort of remain competitive with our surrounding communities. We noticed that some had increased to $1, so we just wanted to make sure that we were staying competitive in the
Hard
market.
enough to get substitutes. We don't want
Exactly.
them going to Woburn and Bedford because they pay an extra buck, right?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we planning on hiring a fourth for Francis Wyman? They currently only have 3 people working full-time in their cafeteria. Other schools who serve less students have 4.
Again, through the chair, Bob, we did discuss this, so you want to jump in?
Yeah, so this is something in particular that I have looked at. I've also spoken to Whitson's and Kerry Noak, the food services manager as well. So at the end of last year, or sometime before the end of last year, an employee did leave and we did not fill that position. Their numbers are very similar to other schools that do have 3 employees. So that is one of the considerations why we're not filling it right now. So we're monitoring and watching those numbers. I know that, like I said, with the food services manager in Whitson's, it's definitely on their radar. But we definitely wanted to get through the first week of school. I know we're in week 2 right now, and we really need to see after kindergarten came in, like what those numbers look like and whether or not bringing a 4th person makes sense. I've also talked to the manager of Francis Wyman as well too, and it is something that they don't want to just add a body. I mean, they want somebody that actually would bring value to the team. So they're not really looking for a sub, and they're actually consistent with what it is right now. And that's the conversation that I had, again, with the food services manager of Francis Wyman. But again, it is something that we are watching, and it is something that we're going to continue to look at. And if the timing is right and makes sense, we will add person.
Are the participation numbers at Francis Wyman the same as Fox Hill and Memorial, let's say, the schools that have similar school populations? Because I have had conversations with people that are at Francis Wyman, and they're feeling it. They're feeling having only 3 people. I understand, and I agree with the sentiment that they don't want just a body.
Right.
They really want somebody who's going to contribute to the team.
So on a daily basis, no. On an average, no. So that's part of the consideration. We're adding a 4th person. May not be justified fully just on lunch counts. But like I said, it's definitely something that myself and 2 others are aware of and watching. And I know the conversation has been had with Dr. Conti and Nicole as well too, that we are aware of it. And I think part of it is mostly driven based on the numbers that are being prepared for lunches. But it is something that we're considering to review more intensely.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion for increasing the pay for substitute cafeteria workers from $15 to $16
So moved.
an hour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions? Jeremy?
Yeah, just this fits and the other one fits in the O&M budget. No increases to cover these increases.
So this increase would come from the food service account, the school lunch revolving.
The ceiling in that,
Yes.
in that budget. Got it. Thanks.
Okay, let's put the motion to a vote. Catherine?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. Moving on. Food service update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we wanted to, had been requested that we do some financials on the food service, so we wanted to follow through. Nicole?
Thanks. So the handout that you have before you sort of provides a brief history of the school lunch revolving fund. In years past, the district had ended the fiscal year in deficit. You can see in FY 18, 19, and 20. Some years as small as 5,000, some years 120,000. And basically the laws that govern municipal finance requires that anytime that there's a deficit at year end, that the committee needs to fund that from either the operating budget or another allowable source in order to make the fund whole. There were a number of other factors that contributed to not ending the year in a deficit in the years that followed, which are also noted underneath the little chart there. Such as universal free meals from federal, now the state. In FY '23, we brought on Whitson's as our food service management company. One of the benefits of having us work with the food service management company is the contract requires that we end the year in a set surplus. For last year, that amount was $215,536. And at the bottom of the page there, you can see that they met that obligation.
Okay, Catherine asked me for a copy, so I just sent her a picture of it. Questions?
Again, Madam Chair, this was the financial outlook. We did speak with Whitson's, and they'd be willing to come back in front of the committee. I think you had also had some concerns about menu options, and so we can sort of have Whitson's presentation on sort of the menus and what they're looking at. But I think that essentially, when we were running our own food service, as you all know or may not know, is we would have to make up a deficit at the end of the year. So it is sort of comforting to know that we don't have to worry about making up the deficit when we're planning for the next fiscal year. And Nicole, I guess my question is, the revolving account balance is that currently at 551? Is that what I'm looking at now?
No, so that was start of last year, so end of year balance, so at June 30th, it's at 769,309.
Okay.
So that's in the revolving account now?
Yes.
And Whitson's, do they have access to that?
No, those are our funds. They bill us.
They would bill us, and so what they're basically saying is if things hold true at the end of the year, they're guaranteeing us a $215,000 surplus?
Correct.
I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly.
All right, before I ask any of my questions, I'd like to put it out to the committee. Does anyone on the committee have any questions or issues or
I have a couple of
comments?
questions.
Melissa, go first.
Is the guarantee the same every year? It's the 215, 536, also this year?
I believe so. I need to double check the
No
contract.
worries. I know we talked about, I think last year, the need to spend down some of this. Is that in the works?
Yes, that's a plan that we need to work on with the state.
Okay. That's it.
Megan?
What is the reimbursement rate per lunch?
I believe it was around, I want to say 401 for lunch and 237 for breakfast, but I can double check those numbers and get back to you.
And what was it before lunch became universal and breakfast became universally free? Do you remember what the old numbers are?
Oh, now you're really testing my memory. I don't, but I can get those for you.
Is that it?
Was it less? Was it more?
It's probably less.
Less.
Less?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So have we put any thought and consideration into looking at other options if we're investing, if we're paying money to have a middle company come in and buy all of our food and, help prepare our menus, And I don't know that we've seen the increase in participation that we were anticipating or promised. Have we thought about looking to bring this back in-house at all? Would that be something that's reasonable from a financial perspective?
So we did have benchmarks that they did need to meet for participation, and they have held true to meeting those.
I know their goal was 100% participation, and that's what they were shooting for. That's what I remember from the presentations, and
Can't imagine that's real.
When we bid the contract out, we had like certain like minimum like thresholds that like they needed to meet.
Well, I wasn't on the committee.
It wasn't 100%.
Didn't get to review the contract. So, I remember sitting and watching and hearing, our goal is 100% participation. We want every student to come in here and get a lunch. So are we seeing the higher participation that we thought we were going to see? Is it about the same as it was? I'm wondering how successful this is and whether or not we can increase the quality of food and offer things that kids are more likely to eat and, experience less of instances where the menu is so stringent that kids are coming through and not getting food because they're like, oh, well, it has meat on it, and we're not allowed to separate the noodles and the meat sauce or whatever it is. I'm hearing things that are going on in some schools where kids are not participating because of the menu and how stringent the service is.
Okay, we can get you more figures on participation rates.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Pre and post.
I'm gonna guess that 100% was more of like a facetious presentation. Like I can't imagine any situation where 100% would actually be attainable. But also I think some of the stringency is there's still rules around lunch. Like they have to take all the components or it doesn't become a lunch. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the benefit of having this company is the guaranteed surplus versus when we've done it in the past, it's been a deficit. So
I guess part of what I'm thinking is we're having trouble finding people to work in our cafeterias, and the pay isn't as great as it should be. And I think it's an important job serving students. I think if anybody remembers Mrs. Monaco's commencement speech, our lunch staff is an important part of our schools, and if we can have a more consistent staff because we're paying them a living wage, I think that's something that we should look into instead of funneling money into a middle corporation. I think it's something we should look at and consider.
So again, to answer your question, it's really up to the committee. So we have a contract. When the contract is up, we'll either go back out to bid, renew it, or choose a different direction. So that's.
I think we should look at the options.
Yeah, so I'm saying I think that's we can bring options to the committee, but ultimately it's really sort of we can make a recommendation and it's your call.
Yeah, I think that bringing that money back into the community, because the people that are working in our cafeterias live in Burlington, and pushing that money away to a middle management company, I don't necessarily think is the best choice.
Jeremy, you got anything?
Not a whole lot to add. They outperformed what they said they were by about 1%. I think, to Megan's point, there is some menu choices they could possibly look at, but again, at some point, you can't just make it a la carte because you are making meals for a lot of people. So I think we got to look at some trade-offs there and maybe just see if Whitson can offer some variation in menu maybe, or something like that to kind of help work those out. I don't know, but
And again, I have no loyalty to any one of these companies, so it really doesn't matter to me. But one of the things that we have talked about with Whitson's, and one of the different arrangements that they have here in Burlington, is they do give a lot of our CAF managers sort of more control and more decision-making. So some of the balance here is sort of where we want that decision point to be. If we want it to be all local decision-making, that's fine. But I think Whitson's has given up some of that decision-making to our local managers, and so that's sort of one of the things we're trying to manage. The back end of Whitson's is something that I think is really valuable. The menu prep, even the software, the ingredients, the resources that parents can get. So I'm not sure we could match that locally. So it may be something that we just look for a different management type arrangement, or we discuss where that sort of control of menu is, but we would have to staff very differently to get the some of the details out that Whitson's can provide. Again, I'm not saying that's worth it. Like I said, you could name another food service company, and I'd say fine. But I think it would be a longer conversation than just saying we're going to sort of take this over or do it. And I think what I have appreciated about Whitson's is they've been very flexible with the amount of sort of management they are deferring to Burlington to allow. So I think that is something. And I know Catherine has her hand up, so I don't want to talk too much.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, no, I did lose connectivity there for a few minutes, so I'm not sure if I'm repeating anything or I missed something. But again, what I'm kind of trying to picture, right, is think about that first presentation that was done to us and what was, presented and promised, right? And I'd just like to see some sort of a presentation from day one of what, was offered, and then a year over year, or a comparison of, what they offered and promised and where we really stand. I get where we are, but I just kind of feel like, again, we're talking about the different food choices. We're talking about, the material that is being used in the cafeteria. I want to make sure that we're communicating with the staff to see how they feel things are working. I mean, it's one thing to look at numbers, but again, I want to go back to and talk to, because I know there for a while there, and I think it's improved quite a bit, but there was not that great of communication between Whitson's and the folks working in the cafeteria, and their agreement on how things should be done and weren't done. I just want to make sure we're covering all the bases in terms of, how we're evaluating this, and making sure that it is the value add and worth paying for, I guess, so to speak, or, do we go back and look at it as Megan's suggesting? I just want to kind of see a year over year and a full evaluation, not just dollars, but the whole satisfaction of the whole program.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
To everyone's point, I do think we took some control back over of the menus, right? Like, I think that's, yeah. So I think maybe we have to, like, Whitson's did cede the menus back to the school. So I think maybe if we do have menu requests, Whitson's may come back and say, well, we let your cafeteria staff decide the menus. So I'd be interested to know where the control is in that, and like what, I know we just got 2 notifications and there was an email, so if parents want to suggest meal options and things like that, because I feel like we got a lot of different meals those first couple of months, and now it's pretty standard month over month. So I'd be interested in still some more varied, and that's at the elementary. I think the middle and high school still have some of the good choices, but I think I'd be interested in seeing some more varied food in the elementary school.
Jeremy.
Just a clarifying point, too. We are talking about a budget surplus or a surplus of $217,000, where it was costing us upwards of $120K. So I think the menu tweaks are probably the easiest way to go about it, because we're not necessarily paying. We're experiencing a surplus where we were experiencing deficit before, and it's quite a large delta.
I agree that the surplus is a great thing. I think we have to look at what our reimbursement rate was before Whitson's and now. And I think that might give us some information about where that surplus is coming from.
Okay, the first thing that I would like to ask for is participation numbers starting from the beginning and going through, because my understanding is that the participation is not any better than it was before. And I believe our goal was to increase participation in large part because we didn't want a deficit. But I don't think it's reasonable to compare the deficit years with the current, because we didn't have free lunches then. There were some that were subsidized, but the whole free lunch for everybody program is new, and it's no longer apples and apples. It was apples before free lunch, and now it's oranges. And so I just don't think it's reasonable to assume that if we went back to doing it ourselves, we would have a deficit. I think, in fact, I think we'd probably be bringing in more money than what Whitson is guaranteeing us. But I have some other points to make. The complaint that I hear the most is that there are a lot of children in Burlington now, and we talk about equity issues a lot, and a lot of children in Burlington do not eat meat for religious reasons or cultural reasons. And for instance, someone messaged me and said that yesterday or today or the day before, I don't know when, that the meal was pasta with meat sauce. It wasn't plain pasta, it was pasta with meat sauce. The other options were a ham and cheese sandwich. Well, some kids don't eat pork for religious reasons or cultural reasons. And then the third option was a bagel. So the non-meat-eating students had really only one choice, and that was a bagel. It doesn't seem like we should need to put them in that situation, but on the other hand, in order to provide a meal that's reimbursable, it has to meet certain criteria. And probably the meat is one of the criteria, because plain pasta may not satisfy the criteria. And then to add even a third item to that list of semi-issues, I have 2 diabetic grandchildren, and when they go through the line, they're told that they have to take everything. Well, they can't eat everything because of their diabetes. So they have to take these things, walk directly to the trash can, and throw out the stuff they can't eat. So there is some, I mean, maybe it's not a major issue. Maybe it's okay that every day they throw out part of their lunch in order to make it reimbursable. But there are some issues with all of this. And the menus do not even come close to what we originally had for demonstrations from Whitson. And maybe that's because our staff couldn't manage it all, and so they modified the menus. But I don't think we're getting the benefit that we thought we were getting from this program. And I also think that probably Dr. Conti and Nicole and Bobby find it a whole lot simpler to have a food service company do this. And maybe that's a good enough reason so that we don't bog down our administrators with worrying about the food service. But from a practical perspective, I do think the right food service director with this amount of money could probably do a good job and have us end up with more money than we're ending up with Whitson. But bottom line, someone else asked for something, maybe more than one person. I would like to see the participation numbers from start to finish so far. I think someone else asked for information. Megan?
Yes.
What was it?
The participation numbers and participation rates, reimbursement rates.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
before and after universal free lunch and breakfast.
Okay, so is there anything else before we move on? Our cafeteria staff might get mad at me for saying I'm not crazy about the menu, but, and we really need to take care of that meat thing. You know, there needs to be a decent no-meat choice for these kids. And a little spoonful of sun butter and whatever is not a meal to me. Okay, let's move on. Fox Hill Building Committee update, Melissa.
We just met an hour and a half ago. We are working on all of the materials to go to town meeting. I think, is it 2 separate agenda items here? So this is just the update?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah,
far.
so that's all I have for an update.
Okay, I sent you all 2 different letters. Is anyone interested in sending either of those letters from this committee to town meeting?
I think I got like 3 different ones. Which one are we talking?
Yeah, I sent you the
Okay,
middle
all right,
one.
all right.
But I didn't send that to everybody, I just sent it to you.
Okay, so which one are we talking
You-
about?
you
Which is the
tell
one,
me.
but I can't tell which one everyone got.
They got the first one and the short, sweet one that you had requested.
Okay.
I felt the shorter one was better.
You like the
I
short one?
agree. I agree.
The question is, I think we're under a lot of strain. I think we all are doing what we can do to make sure that we get support from town meeting, asking the people that we know that are town meeting members, at least I hope we are. And, you know, we're down to the wire here. We need an effort to get all the votes we can get in order to get the Fox Hill School built and the reimbursement from the state. So I thought it might be a sort of a unifying effort to send out a letter from all of us indicating our support for the project. I'm assuming we all support the project. So at first I wrote the longer short novel that Melissa nicknamed it. And I was trying to address a lot of points, and she pointed out to me that it was long and nobody would read it. So I came up with a short letter, and I'm hoping that, that we all are in agreement that we all support the project and would like to share that knowledge with town meeting members. So I'm asking, do you want to send it out from us, or do you not?
I think it's important to show united front. Just my opinion, that I think it'd be nice to get a letter from the school committee that we all support the project.
Okay, well, I certainly don't want a split vote. I mean, we either all are in favor of this or we're not, so how do the rest of you feel? Jeremy?
If we're going to put it to vote, let's just put it to a vote. I mean, I don't know if we need to caucus about it. Of course, I support the project. We voted to support all the things we've gone through with the building committee, and up until this point, I do think brevity is the soul of wit. So a letter that says, yes, we support this project, it's, you know, X amount of dollars, this is our expected reimbursement, and hit the high points. You know, I think it's more of a content thing for me, but I can support the shorter one.
Okay, Melissa?
Are we voting?
I'm just asking your opinion.
Yes.
Okay, so would someone make a motion?
I move that we support the 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraph letter.
Okay, the shorter one. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, we've got 2 seconds. I'll put that to a vote. Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and I will ask Eric to maybe make sure I didn't spell anything wrong and ask Amy to send it out. All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your hard work. This is a project that is really important to the town, and when I say things like we need to be unified, I really believe that in order to get what we need, including the high school, we need to be a united front. I just think we can't win this battle without all being on the same page.
And Madam Chair, I believe we are all on the same page too. I think there's just, at least from my seat, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of the committee, I really do feel like we need to address pacing and, you know, scheduling of the next projects and start to put that out, because I really feel like that's where our stumbling block's going to be, is we haven't communicated, hey, this is our timeline for the next bigger projects we're anticipating, i.e. high school and, you know, major repairs to buildings. going to the 20-year plan. I was going to bring up a new business, but this seemed appropriate now, is
Yeah.
we really need to move that document forward, get it out, so we can communicate our needs, because I think really town meeting is going to get hung up on knowing high school is right behind this, quite frankly.
You think that they want it to be or they don't want it to be?
They want to know when it's going to be. They want to have some idea of the date, because, again, folks I talk to, that's the sticking point for them, is understanding what's going to come down the pipe next, because we vote for a $60, $70 million school this year. If we're turning around in 2 to 3 to 5 years, again, it's a lot of things that add up quickly with a police station. So understanding where that falls in time and space will help a lot of people make their decision, is my opinion.
And I think that the plan is to have at least something for next September town meeting, hopefully the first phase or whatever we end up choosing to do.
Agree, but I think it's, folks are going to vote on it in this September in 2 weeks, so they kind of want to know when that's going to happen, or what our expected timeline is for it. Again, it's just planning.
High school, I think we have to move forward with it, really, so.
Completely agree. Like I said, I think folks just want to know when that is, or when we think that's going to be.
The answer is maybe next September, at least to some extent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know either Roger or Ed mentioned that there's a Ways and Means Committee meeting in between now and town meeting,
The
correct?
18th.
Yeah, so if we can, I know you two are the liaisons there, if we can get that slotted in sooner than 2032.
Oh, yeah,
I think
definitely.
I think some
Yeah.
visualization, I think that's where people get
That's where-
tripped up.
100%.
Are we pushing off the high school purposefully here? So I think if Ways and Means gets behind, the high school is coming next year as well, and we need 2 yes votes from town meeting. I think that is an important message.
Bob, maybe you could address that capital sheet. I mean, pushing it way out there is like, that's not going to work.
I think that sheet, a lot of it was just placeholders. If you go back and ask people, it wasn't etched in stone, those dates and times.
Right,
They just
but
had
it's
placeholders to let
upsetting and
people know that those
misleading.
projects were on the plate.
Right. Bobby? All right, you heard me.
Madam Chair, I just have a very sort of low-level question. 18th Ways and Means?
18th Ways and Means, 19th, the town meeting, what do you call it when you're, it's like a trade show.
Yeah, the information form or whatever I think they refer to it as.
I mean, I can go on the 18th, and they go to Ways and Means, or we also have to go to Ways and Means.
18th is,
Ways and
oh,
Means.
So I cannot go to town meeting on the 19th because it is actually back to school night.
Same.
but if that is held
On the 18th was
you
the
can go to
suggestion,
that.
I can go to that.
and whoever needs to go to Ways and Means can go to Ways and Means, that would be you and me.
All right, well, I'm not sure I can be at both, so we'll have to I'll divide and conquer or something. and I'll
But it
figure
could
out.
be the 18th and 19th, but then Megan and Melissa won't be able to go on the 19th because of the back-to-school nights.
100 Yes, 100%. I'm just saying I would like to do both, but I'll have to, we'll work it out, so we'll be all right.
I don't know what the
Jeremy, too,
time,
for
the
next
time of they asked me for 7:30 on the 18th. Does Ways and Means start earlier than that?
Starts at 7.
Oh, okay, never mind.
You're not first on the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
We'll make it work. I'm just,
figure it out.
there's just a conflict. I don't want you to think I'm just off, at the beer garden.
Okay, so we've done the Fox Hill Building Committee update. We've done the letter of support. Thank you for that. The BHS Building Committee. Catherine, have you got anything to add on that?
Just the next meeting is Thursday, the 12th at 6:30. And I did want to just remind people, again, who are interested in the project and seeing where we are, to go to bhsbuildingproject.com. Please go and look at the introductory video. The second video has also been posted on the site. BCAT has also posted that second video, the first and second video. The second one was posted on 8/20/24. And then, Eric, my only other comment is, I'm kind of going and checking, how easy it is to get to the project from the high school, that when you click on the high school site from the town site, and it takes at least 2 clicks to even find the link for the project. So I'm wondering if it can be moved to under community. And then when you highlight community, then you should be able to click on the BHS building project. Because right now, I think it's taking 2 or 3 clicks to even find it.
Through the chair, Ms. Bond, I'll look into that.
All right, thank you.
You mean the town website?
Yeah, so when you go to the town website, and then you go to schools, and you go to the high school, and then I think it's under district and community, then you have to go under the community, and it's like, 3 or 4 clicks before you can even find the link.
Okay.
I think it should be a lot easier to find the link for those who, don't know the other options.
Okay. I'll speak to the town.
Thank you. And again, I think it's the high school site, which, I don't know, does the town control that, or does the high school control that?
The town has the elementary school project as its own direct link as well.
Right. The town has the high school as a direct link as well.
Oh,
but I'm
BHS.
talking
Okay,
about
I see it.
when you go to Burlington High School or Fox Hill, or you go to the separate schools for each link from the town, right? So you can go to, I want to look at Burlington High School, and here's who the superintendent of schools is, and this is who the principal is. They have different tabs at the top for just the high school. So I could search Burlington High School and get to that same thing without going through the main town site. I'm just saying that's how I got there. So I should be able to go to Burlington High School and easily find the link from Burlington High School.
I see. So it's under district, but you want it also under the school.
Right. So again, when you go to Fox Hill and click on Fox Hill, you can see the link for the Fox Hill project at the Fox Hill site. When you go to the high school, you have to click 3 different things to get to the link to find it.
Ms. Bond, I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about from the town website. If you're talking about from our website, then we can make the
Right.
change very easily.
Right, but what I'm saying is it brings you to the same place, am I right? So if I went into the Burlington Town website and I went to schools, right? And then I go down to find Burlington High School, and I click on Burlington High School, then it shows the high school, correct? Would you not just get to the same place if I searched Burlington High School?
I'm not familiar with the town website, so let me
show
just-
you.
yeah,
I'll
let me
come
just
in and
look
show
at it.
you.
I think we can make it simpler. All I'm saying is if you're talking about bringing the high school forward on our website, yet we can absolutely do that, and limit sort of
Clicks.
highlight the project button.
Yes, exactly. So just make it easier to find, that's all.
Okay.
Okay. Pine Glen School Standing Agenda item. Do we have anything on Pine Glen? It's, the air conditioning's going along fine?
It is going along fine, not complete. We are rounding the last corner of the race, so I do expect this week, next week, we will start activating some of the air conditioning and heat pumps in the classrooms. So again, most of our work has been up on the roof the past week, and inside the classroom, the units are all installed. So it's really electrical connections that need to be made right now, so we're wrapping those up.
And Bob, excuse me, through the chair, we obviously stressed the air conditioning part of it. There are heat pumps. This has been a cool fall. I think the heat pumps will also help preserve the boilers in the building as well. So just to make sure that this is a full system for sort of a pretty wide temperate range of conditioning classrooms.
Are they like the Mitsubishi units where you can have cool or heat?
They are just like that. It is a full heat pump unit. It is a self-contained mini split unit. So you have the option of doing just air. You have the option of running a fan. You have the option of cooling or heating independent in each classroom.
Well, that should help the boilers. Okay, anyone else on Pine Glen? Jeremy, the mulch was good? That's all set?
Yeah, Recreation Department delivered all the mulch prior to school starting and then supplemented again at the beginning of school. So what I've talked to with Brendan is they're all to the depth they should be at all schools, so.
I saw them at Fox Hill the other day, so.
Yeah.
They were literally scooping it out while I was there, so I haven't seen it since, but they were working on it.
Okay, new business, old business, updates.
Madam Chair, just the transportation is the last item on the agenda. And so we just wanted a transportation update,
Okay,
and then
sorry.
The committee should discuss whether they would like transportation to be a standing item for us to do regular reports. I'm not sure every meeting, but maybe every other meeting, or you all can sort of decide sort of what you want. So, Mr. Brooks, I know you were wanted to have a sort of a discussion about transportation.
Yeah, just the request was until the app kind of levels out. There's been some folks with, some issues. The Beacon folks are doing a lot of work just to kind of give visibility to folks. Hey, these are the big tickets that are being worked right now, and just to kill some of those initial growing pains, get through, for the next probably 2 or 3 meetings, just have a quick update with a stoplight chart. Hey, this ticket's closed, this app fix is known, or it's known we're working it, or this one's fixed. Please let us know if you're still experiencing it, kind of thing. Just putting those information out so folks know that we're working on all that and they can kind of get a status on it. Because there's a lot of redundant comms that I'm getting, so I just want to make sure folks are getting a push versus a pull.
Do you want it a standing agenda item or just an occasional once a month maybe, or?
Honestly, I was looking for the next probably 3, maybe 4 meetings.
Yeah, okay.
I agree with Jeremy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth, Jeremy, that I wanted to have it something consistent the next 2 or 3 weeks until the app bugs work out.
Right, and there are a lot of app bugs.
Yeah.
Is that getting better, Bob?
Yeah, I would actually love to give the whole committee and the community an update for transportation if I can, through the chair. So this is day 6. So again, great start to the school year. On day 1, we had 3 neighborhoods that were under construction on the roads. So that was not a great start. We had 2 buses that were running late, and communication needed to go out. For everyone who drives in Burlington, you see as we drive down the Cambridge Street, the busiest road in Burlington, we're doing sidewalks, we have cones out, we're shutting lanes down, and that's impacting us as well. I will say for day 6, we are doing exceptionally well, in my opinion, as far as keeping on time. I know we do have some concerns on the 3rd tier at the high school. There are 3 buses in particular that don't give a lot of time for students to make it to homeroom, and don't give a lot of time for students to have breakfast and make it to their lockers. But that's something that we're working on. Our bus is showing up on time generally, yes. Now let's move to the most favorite topic. The number of requests is exceptionally large year after year, and this year is no exception, right? So a new update for routes went out on Monday, and then a notice through Parent Square, and updated routes started today. There are over, I think, 48 changes to the routes in just this one update. That did not seize any new requests coming in, so we are still dealing on about 70 requests. A lot of them are stated as safety concerns, so we are continually going through those with the bus company and getting assistance from the police department when needed. So please, everybody at home, understand that we are continually looking at these. We will provide more updates to routes. It may not be every single one, but we will. Updates have gone out recently, also on Monday, in regards to the Beacon Connect family app. So again, we are on day 6 of school, but we're not on day 6 of the app, so we've had 4 days of the app. That being said, yes, there were some concerns that the app was dropping some routes. I'm not sure if this is everybody, because I've had some people say that not for them, but I'm going to say the majority it was. And I know that working with the bus company and a small group of users, these were tested and an update was applied. And that was also noted in the Parent Square message on Monday. So I will say that the bus company is being responsive to the app right now. They are definitely reviewing and working on updates as they come in. We strongly encourage families to reach out to the email listed on Parent Square, also on our website for Go Beacon. So this is a not in-house app, so this is nothing that I can control or reprogram. So all of your messages coming to me that I'm also forwarding to the bus company. They have 2 dedicated staff for support to Burlington on top of the development team, so that's a big push. I just want to stress that. And also, I do want to clarify and make sure that everybody understands that NRT or the Beacon app will not add any parents, families, family members, grandparents, cousins to the app. That all has to come from the district. That's a security measure. So all information for students has to be updated in Aspen through the Student Information Office. And then we, as a district, pass that information along to the bus company. And that is the only way you can get access into the tracking app. One last thing I do want to make everyone aware of, maybe it was in small print in some of my messages, but I do want to stress that you have the ability to adjust where your geolocation is. By default, it's going to pick up on your phone where you are on the app. So if you're home, that's where it's going to put the dot, but you have the ability to move that dot. You also have the ability to type in an address. So I've heard some concerns that a quarter mile is not large enough. Again, you can move the location further down the street. You can also add multiple locations. So if you want it to go off on Dunkin' Donuts, the Burlington Mall, et cetera, you can do that and get notified multiple times for the same buses. But if it's activating too close and that quarter mile is too small for your particular situation, I would first start by recommending moving the location further down the street to give yourself some time. I'd like to stress that I hope the bus app is not intended to notify students to then put their shoes on and go outside. I would still like students to be outside waiting for the bus in a timely manner, and the app could be used to notify parents that the bus is on time. We are learning through some of these quirks of the app and timing. So again, we just appreciate everyone's patience, and I will continue with updates to the committee and through Parent Square to keep everyone up to speed with the knowledge as I get it. Thanks.
Okay, any questions?
I have many.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just to piggyback off that, I have like 3 alerts now that I say, okay, bus is coming, put your shoes on, and then you better be at the stop. So the custom instructions are not super intuitive, so I'm wondering if, because I've walked a few parents through that, they're like, I can only put my house. To add it in the custom, I know the app company was pretty open to creating the marketing materials. So maybe if they could create some sort of instructions on how to create the custom location, I think that would be helpful. It's not really intuitive, but it has been working. I have a pretty consistent route, and it has been working the last couple of days for me, so that's good. I'm not shooting the messenger, but overall I was disappointed in the company's routes because I think we had all tried to ask them to kind of refresh and see what efficiencies could be gained, and I looked at those routes and they all looked almost identical to last year, and there's a lot of redundant stops in my opinion. So if we're having, I know we're not going to close stops now, but so we missed our opportunity to kind of gain some efficiencies on some of these tiers that are taking some time. So I was a little disappointed with the company for that. In terms of the app update priorities, I think someday we'd like to get to the point where all you do is follow the bus, like you would find Friend on your phone.
Yeah.
So if they had expressed that they were concerned about confidentiality of the routes, and I mean, we literally published them in the newspaper. So I think if we can move the development towards that, it shouldn't be too difficult. I know that the notifications is probably the most difficult piece, but if we can work on prioritizing that, I know they said that they had, they would prioritize district requests. So that would be kind of my high level request is like, let's move to a point where at 7:35 the route starts and I can pull it up and see where it is. It's certainly in the afternoon, alerts are probably more helpful. Okay, left the school, but things like that. And then the other question I have, maybe it's for Ms. Kasha, but I know at least on day one, we know a bunch of routes started late. Do you know how much we don't pay and what's the dollar value of when they miss the runs?
I know that we do have a monetary penalty in there. Off the top of my head,
Okay.
I don't know the
Okay, I'd love to
actual
just know
amount.
that dollar amount so that we can say, hey, look, when parents get really upset, well, at least we're not paying for that run.
I can get that information now.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Megan?
When we don't pay for the run, where does the money go? I mean, we're paying, what do we do with it?
We just get a credit back on our bill, so it wouldn't hit our transportation budget.
Okay.
Jeremy?
Just 2 points, Madam Chair. Number one, known issue for the routes dropping has been solved from the most folks I talked to. The second one is the notifications. The support team reached out to me twice as someone who'd reported it, so please report it. They do reach out to you. And the gentleman, Jose, was very nice that did that. And the email address is beaconconnect@gobeacon.com to send that out.
Catherine, you got anything?
No, I think everybody covered everything I had to say anyway, so.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to say is that I was surprised that it wasn't more like what Melissa described with like the find my friend, you know, you can kind of watch your friend driving down the road and know where it is and where the car is.
You can hack it.
Well, now we could try that.
60 geolocations, right?
But I want to second what Melissa said. I hope that the app moves towards being able to see where your bus is on the route, because clearly the bus routes are public information if we put them in the newspaper.
Sorry, one alibi too, Madam Chair, if I can.
Yeah.
Seeing, like, when you put a route in, so if I say, you know, it's Burlington Pine Glen Route 2, when the route starts, get an automatic notification and get an automatic notification when it ends, right? And then wherever you put your circle is, so there's 3 default notifications per route you select for AM and PM, would be an ask also.
I'm not sure, I mean, I don't know how important the notifications of the starting and ending are, but being able to look and say, oh yeah, my bus started, it's on the way, it's here, I think it would be pretty helpful. So I just want you to know I agree with that. Is there anything else before we move on? Okay, the next item that I have, do you have anything else, Jeremy? Anyone have anything else under new business?
I did. I wanted to bring up something.
Go ahead, Catherine.
I just wanted to ask for everyone to please come and support the school committee at the Family Feud, supporting People Helping People on the 21st at 5 p.m. I hope to see you guys all there. I mean, the whole school committee will be there, but I'm hoping to see other Dr. Conti or, you know, Dr. Chen or someone else to come and support us. It would be awesome.
Well,
what about Bob?
They have to be in the crowd to text us the answers.
Of course, Bob.
I did buy an extra table of seats. I think it's 10 seats. We all have a seat up in the front with the contestants, but I did buy a table, and I'm sure there are going to be some seats open at it if any of you want to come and sit at that. 21st, is it, Catherine?
21st, yep, 5 o'clock. It should be fun. And it's for a great, you know, People Helping People, which
What
is a
is
really
it,
good.
Billerica Elks?
Where is it? You know, gotta look that up again.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that school committee is going to sweep #1 victory. I'm going to challenge the select board, as I already have. Coming for you, Selectman Espaillo and Selectman Priest and Selectman Morandi, Selectman Cowley, and the rest, so, yeah.
I think we
We're coming
need
after
to
you.
watch it a couple of times, figure out how the,
It'll be fine.
well, I do, but I think it'd be better to brush up. I hope the topics aren't like some of the ones I've seen. Did you find the place?
I'm trying to find the flyer in
All
my
right,
mail.
let us know if you find it.
Yep.
Okay, so anyone else have items before I hit a couple?
I have the address.
What is it?
14 Webb Brook Road in Billerica, Elks, yes.
Yes, Billerica Elks.
All right, thank you.
I wanted to ask about the memorial school stuff, the playground and the policy about letting kids go home with friends. Eric, do you have any update on that?
Yeah, we're working on it, and we want all 4 schools to be common, and if we change routes or allow kids to ride buses, we typically have a moratorium the first couple weeks, as you can imagine why. So we're just getting to that point now, so
Okay.
I plan on that happening. So
What's
we
the
just have to work
problem with the playground, that the 4th and 5th graders and now 1st graders can't use it?
Yeah, there's some scheduling issues. I think working with the school on those, I'm well aware of them, and we're going to find a solution to that and make sure that all kids have access to the playground.
Okay, my next item is, I know that you wrote asking for a correction from Boston Magazine because they used incorrect data. I assume you have heard nothing back. I wouldn't hold my breath. But I asked for this at one other meeting, and I kind of didn't, I know, Eric, it wasn't something that you really agreed with me on, but I just want to make the point that I do think other communities have someone that looks at the criteria for those things and actually works to make sure that they get good ratings. And, maybe we just don't have the staff to do it, I don't know, but I'd like to be able to know that we're on top of those things. And then my third item I mentioned earlier in the meeting, and that was the school shooting thing just makes me crazy, and I'm wondering if we could have one of those meetings with the police chief and the safety team and possibly talk about if there's any new technology. I really was intrigued by the technology that they had in that school in Georgia.
Let me do the safety thing first. We're required to have an annual meeting with a public safety meeting, so that's scheduled for September 17th, so we'll bring in police leadership, fire leadership, school leadership, and we have that meeting. We actually go beyond that. We have regular meetings and tabletop meetings throughout the year. So those conversations happen. As I said, I think there's a very good working relationship between public safety and the schools. And again, we have great leadership on the police side to help us with those tabletop exercises. I do think we're exploring some new technologies, and we really follow the police department's lead on that. So not believing that we are the experts, but we bring people in, and if they request something, we certainly would implement that, and we have implemented many safety features moving forward. We've tried to enhance communication. I think we've added a bunch of walkie-talkies, Bob. So we've done that. We've had some specific things. So I think they're working currently, Ms. Massardo, on a safety night as well. So the police want to talk about the standard response protocol that we use with parents, and I would encourage parents to attend. What typically happens is we do a lot of planning. There's not a great turnout. I know the PTOs are working on this together, so hopefully we'll get a good turnout. If there's a tragedy, then we have a lot of interest, and it soars to wane. So I just want to reassure you, Madam Chair, that our interest never wanes in this, and that we have ongoing conversations. And again, I think we are preparing for whatever it is. And I also just want to make sure that I always stress that from my perspective, one of the biggest threats in schools is anonymity. And we do a great job of making sure that all our students are known, they all have relationships, and we try to know what's going on. As I said, our school resource officers are really effective, not because they're feared, but because they are trusted. And I think that's, I would say the same with our staff as well. And again, Dr. Lovett came in as a stranger. Our students are asking her, does she need help? I think those relationships between adults and students are critical for learning, but they're also incredibly important in regards to safety. So I think, so that's sort of why we do that. The effort that you all make to make sure things like sports and performing arts and band don't have user fees is critical for student development, but I also think it's a critically important part of having students have places to connect with, and I think it's ultimately connected to student safety as well. So Ms. Monaco, the tragedy in Georgia sadly may not be the last one, and we're going to have to continue to prepare and look at that. But it's not just about hardening the sort of outside of buildings. It's also making sure that the experience inside of buildings is something that students value and that we're aware and know our kids really well.
Right. I agree with you. I'd like to have a little extra safety check all the doors, like Fox Hill with all of those doors in every classroom. Let's make sure they're all locked. And the technology was something the teachers' badges have the ability to put the school into lockdown. So I just think that it would be interesting to look at that.
Madam Chair, if I may, there's
go
definitely
ahead.
some assistive technologies. Dr. Conti and Mr. Kuhn and I have spoken about. The warrant articles from last year have integrations built in to implement some more of the assistive technology that you're looking for. I don't want to just go out and say it out here, but
Yeah.
again, there's definitely integrations built into these systems. They can be layered, they can be modernized. They're very modular, and that's the approach that the kind of three of us taken initially last year, and we're looking to continue that work this year. To kind of make that a more robust detection system, and have those protections in place. I will say at Pine Glen, I even noticed it walking in as a school committee member. I was even questioned, like, hey, why are you here? And then I saw one of the students being corrected because they tried to open a door for me. So I think we are doing our part in the schools. So I'd definitely like to give a shout out to the folks at Pine Glen for that, because they're definitely doing what they're supposed to.
Great. Bobby?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, so thank you, Mr. Brooks, because that was one thing I was going to comment on. Also, this is the time of year where we're seeing fire drills taking place, lockdown drills take place, building inspections take place, fire inspections take place, and the SROs are completing walk-down inspections as well, too. So there's a lot more notice now happening around the buildings to make sure that this. Also, as Jerry mentioned, is that not only are we looking at some technologies as well too, more blue buttons have been ordered as part of the warrant article that you all in town meeting supported, and more radios. Radios will be in this week, if not this week, early next week, but I spoke to the company today and they're programming them. So we have 38 new radios coming in that are being distributed amongst the schools, and also, like I said, more blue buttons for our emergency system for notifications that works and ties in directly with the police department.
One last thing, and I'll stop beating a dead horse, but what I read about the incident indicated that a teacher or administrator, someone initially pushed the button on their badge. And I guess you had to push it like so many times to activate it. But what it did was it locked, or all the classroom doors were locked anyway, but it put some sort of a message into each classroom that they were in lockdown. And the shooter actually approached a classroom door, tried to get in, and because the classroom had that electronic notification, they knew not to let him in. So, I can't really imagine that they have anything more sophisticated than what we have, but I was struck by it, and I just thought, I wonder if we need to know more about that. And so I wanted to bring it up, and now I'll leave the horse alone. Okay, is there anything else under new or old business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Catherine?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.